I bolted upright in bed, my heart hammering against my ribs like a war drum. My wrist throbbed with a dull, lingering ache. For a second, the soft, cheering voice of my female boss still echoed in my ears, celebrating a nice play. But as the haze cleared, I froze. This wasn't my cramped rental apartment. I was sitting in a university dorm room with tiled floors and 4 sturdy desks. An air conditioner hummed in the corner, and streaks of morning sunlight filtered through the gaps in the curtains, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. Everything felt strange, fresh, and impossibly real. Where the hell was I? I rubbed my throbbing temples as 2 distinct lifetimes of memories crashed together in my mind. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I had traveled through time. More accurately, I had taken over the body of myself in a parallel world. I felt a pang of genuine grief for the PC I'd just built back home. I hadn't even gotten to test out the 5090 graphics card yet. As the memories fused, I realized I was still Jiang Feng. The difference was that I wasn't a top-tier Delta Force Pro anymore. Now, I was just a freshman at Jiangxia Gongshan University in Hangzhou. My family, my face, and my name were all identical to my past life. I was still handsome, maybe not quite as much as a web novel protagonist, but close enough. The only real change was that I was born 3 years later, in 2005. In my first life, I was 8 years old when my uncle snuck me into a shady internet cafe. That was the day I discovered my terrifying talent for FPS games. Within 6 months, at age 9, I was clearing lobbies in Crossfire with a Barrett sniper rifle. I was so good that people thought I was cheating. I still remembered the angry messages from players who quit because they couldn't believe my parameters were natural. I became the genius boy everyone talked about. But in this life, because I was 3 years younger, my uncle was already whipped by his wife by the time I turned 8. He never had the chance to sneak me out to play. I had stayed on the straight and narrow path of a student. The FPS world lost a monster, and the university gained a regular kid. University life, I muttered, a grin spreading across my face. I guess I'm actually going to do this. In my past life, I'd made millions as a pro and a top-tier player, but I tasted the bitterness of the industry. I had traded my youth for high-stakes pressure. Now, I had a second chance to experience the purity of college while carrying all the experience and skill of a veteran. If I could just get a system, I'd be invincible. System, I whispered internally. Big brother system? Lord system? Silence. Nothing responded. Instead, the frantic shouting of my 3 roommates shattered my thoughts. 1 left. 2 versus 1. Don't rush. He's in the switch room. He's 1 shot. He's 1 shot. Oh, for God's sake. How did you lose that? You should have peeked him. The noise in room 214 died instantly. A heavy, suffocating silence followed. It was obvious. My roommates had just been wiped. I'm bankrupt, Chen Yulin groaned, slumping into his chair by the door. I leaned over to look at their monitors. There it was, the game I knew better than anyone. Delta Force. I checked my phone. It was Monday, December 16th, 2024. If my memory served me right, this was the mid to late stage of Season 2. Season 3 was only a month away. The timeline was identical to my previous life, except for my age. But then I saw something that made my fingers tremble. I looked at the official Delta Force social media page. The daily active users were listed at 100 million. 100 million? In my past life, Delta Force launched in late 2024. It started slow, focusing on large-scale warfare, and only really blew up later because of the extraction mode and viral memes. Even at its absolute peak, it hit 30 million daily users, and 70% of those were on mobile. I had missed the boat back then and failed to become a top streamer. But here, the game was already a global phenomenon. If the extraction mode took off like it did before, the daily users could hit 300 million. Even League of Legends at its peak only hit 180 million. A game with 300 million daily users was unheard of. It wasn't just a game, it was a global culture. Being a top streamer for a game that size would make you more influential than a movie star. I scrolled through TikTok. The viral rat memes were already starting to trend. The player base was massive and hungry. Everything was following the path I remembered, but the scale was magnified 10 times over. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. With my professional skills and deep understanding of the game, I wouldn't just be playing. I would be a god among mortals. But then, a shadow crossed my mind as I remembered how my first life ended. I had been a rising star in PUBG, compared to the legends of the game. But the timing was cursed. The Chinese servers never officially launched, and new regulations banned minors from streaming. I was stuck. I couldn't stream for fans, and I was too young to play in official tournaments. Worst of all, I had signed with RNG. They were notorious for trapping players in contract jails. When the PUBG scene started to fade, they refused to let me go. I spiraled into depression, got drunk one night, and fell, shattering my right hand. The human aimbot was gone forever. I remembered a post on a forum years later asking what happened to the genius boy, Jiang Feng. One comment had stayed with me, cutting deeper than any injury. He didn't have the talent of a legend, but he sure had the tragic ending of one. I looked down at my right hand in this new life. It was steady, it was whole, and I wasn't going to waste it this time. In my past life, even after my hand was shattered, I still had enough FPS skill to dominate the Space City map and rule over the Babel Tower. I was a professional carrier, making over 100,000 a month. But I was never satisfied. I was meant for greatness, and now I had a second chance. I was back. I had the muscle memory of a top-tier pro and a godlike understanding of Delta Force before the game even exploded in popularity. My heart hammered against my ribs. I set a small goal for myself: become the #1 Delta Force streamer in the world. I felt a surge of confidence. My mechanical skill aside, the map spots, tactics, and playstyles I knew from the future were enough to teach these current players a brutal lesson. Jiang Feng, stop spacing out. If we don't move, we'll be late for advanced math. My roommate's voice snapped me back to reality. I grinned. Being a top-tier streamer was great, but being a college student again was even better. Life was looking up. Later that afternoon, I sat in a massive lecture hall. Sunlight slanted through the windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing around the blackboard. The math professor was droning on, his voice a monotonous lullaby, as he scribbled complex theorems that looked like ancient hieroglyphics. I stared at the board, my mind blank. I had traveled back in time, but I hadn't inherited a single ounce of academic knowledge. In my previous life, I hadn't even finished high school before going pro. Facing university-level calculus was like trying to read a book written in a dead language. I looked down at my textbook. It might as well have been a spell book for dark magic. I nudged my roommate, Chen Yulin, who was scribbling notes like his life depended on it. "Do you actually think this is easy?" I whispered. Chen Yulin looked at me, confused. "It's incredibly simple. This is just basic high school review. He hasn't even started the new material yet." I went silent. I checked my schedule. I was a computer science major. C++, linear algebra, university English. Every subject was a mountain I couldn't climb. With my middle school level education, trying to pass these classes was pure fantasy. In the world of math, you either know it or you don't. There is no faking it. Panic started to set in. If I failed too many classes, I'd be kicked out. I couldn't ruin my second life by flunking out before I even started. Then, a spark of inspiration hit me. I wasn't a normal student. I remembered a streamer from my past life named Su Keita. He was a student at Suzhou University who got famous playing League of Legends. Because of his fame, the university used him for promotion and even helped him pass his exams when he struggled academically. They treated him like a star alumnus. If I became the top Delta Force streamer with millions of fans, the school would surely want to keep me around. A diploma would be a formality. I felt a wave of relief. As the old saying goes, don't waste time on things you aren't meant for. I was an FPS prodigy. I couldn't let studying get in the way of my destiny. Beside me, my 3 roommates had clearly given up on the easy math lecture too. Their heads were huddled together, whispering frantically about a failed match. "If you hadn't stopped to loot that bag, we could have extracted," one hissed. "Me? If you had checked your flank, we wouldn't have been backstabbed. Don't even talk about it. Give me back my Havoc coins." I smiled. That was the classic Delta Force experience. The game was addictive, and I remembered that same rush from when I first started. I was lucky. All 3 of my roommates were gamers. We had bonded during military training, and now we were brothers. Chen Yulin, the dorm leader who slept in the bunk above mine, nudged my arm. Hey, Jiang Feng, you should join us in Delta Force. I'm telling you, this game is incredible. I kept my smile hidden. I knew exactly how good it was. Let me tell you a secret, Chen Yulin whispered. Fang Ningxue, the most beautiful girl in our department? She plays too. There are tons of girls in this game. She doesn't just play, Chen Dexing chimed in. She streams herself running Confidential Space City. She's a pro. Zhang Jindong looked wistful. Do you think one day she'll walk up to me and ask to duo? Imagine her carrying me while we find a red folder. The other two scoffed. Keep dreaming, buddy. I couldn't help but interject. If you actually went with her and found a red folder or a fuel tank, would you give it to her? Zhang Jindong frowned. I found it with my own 2 hands. Why would I give it away? I need to upgrade my warehouse. I laughed. That was a true gamer for you. Money over girls, every single time. Chen Yulin suddenly squinted at me. Wait, Jiang Feng. How do you know about red folders and fuel tanks? I thought you said you didn't play. I played a bit over the summer. I lied smoothly. I helped my cousin do some knife runs to earn some pocket money. In my memories, this version of me had played, but he was a rat, running into maps with nothing but a knife, too scared to use a gun. His talent had been wasted. But now, I was a master of every angle and every tactic. If you guys need gear, I can carry you, I said casually. Also, I'm planning to start streaming from the dorm. Is that okay with you guys? I was broke, so renting a place wasn't an option yet. I needed their permission. Sure, no problem, they agreed instantly. They completely ignored my offer to carry them, though. They probably checked my account and saw I was only level 30 with a measly 2 million in assets. To them, I was the one who needed help. I didn't bother correcting them. In Delta Force, a level 30 player is either a god or a nightmare. If you see a level 30 player in a high-stakes map and you don't run, you're already dead. Most cheaters and pros use level 30 accounts to bypass restrictions and dominate. The bell rang. Class was over. It was time to go back to the dorm and start my first stream. Luckily, I was a computer science major. At least I knew how to set up a PC. My parents had bought me a top-tier gaming laptop before I left for school. Running Delta Force on this thing wouldn't be a problem at all. As for the content of my stream, I had plenty of ideas. I could do Saving Private Ryan runs, high-stakes boss hunts, or even commander and subordinate skits where I trolled random teammates. Any of those would be enough to make me a mid-tier streamer at the very least. If I added the title of Delta Force Founder to my profile, I'd have no trouble making a living. I realized I was actually perfect for the commander and subordinate style of content. Based on what I'd seen, my 3 roommates were the type of players who died constantly and lost high-tier gear. They were content gold mines. Other streamers only had 1 little yen to carry. I had 3 of them right here. But then I shook my head. A famous streamer named Zay was already dominating that niche in this world. Why should I copy him? I was a regressor. I wanted to be the highest peak in Delta Force, the strongest player there was. In this game, aggressive, high-skill assault gameplay was king. Streamers like Lin Shu and Wang Zhong were incredibly popular because of their raw skill. Lin Shu had even become a top-tier gaming influencer with over 100,000 steady viewers. I already had the title and content for my first day planned out. Solo queue, 0 to 3 billion assets in 30 days. That meant averaging a profit of 100 million per day. I wanted to give the Delta Force players of this world a little shock. I got back to the dorm and couldn't wait to launch the game. Everything looked familiar, though the S2 operators were a bit sparse. Aside from the original cast, only Zhuya had been added. The legendary instructor Zhang Jie wasn't even out yet. I checked my inventory. I only had the basic knife skin and the standard Blackhawk outfit. Running a stream without a cool knife skin felt wrong. I clicked on the shop and opened the recharge window. My stream had just started, and I had 0 viewers, so there was no one to cheer me on or call me a whale. It didn't matter. I could afford one 648 yuan top-up. It was a necessary investment. I bought the Mercy skin. Even though it would eventually be overshadowed by later skins like Black Sea or Polaris, its feel and aesthetics were top-notch. Even in S7, new players were still begging for a Mercy rerun. Ding! I equipped it immediately. Wait, Foam? You're for real. Chen Yulin looked over from the desk to my left. He was shocked. He didn't expect the usually frugal me to drop 648 yuan on a knife skin without blinking. Buy early, enjoy early, I said simply. A knife kill on a bot ensures you don't leak your position. Back in S2, the armor mechanics were different. The Mercy knife could one-tap a bot with a headshot. After the S3 armor rework, that became impossible. My conversation with Chun Yulin drew the attention of my other two roommates. They watched me start the stream, their faces full of surprise at how much I'd changed. I didn't care. Once they saw me dominating the high-stakes maps, they'd be even more stunned. I didn't need to explain myself. I wasn't hiding it anymore. I was a pro. I opened my streaming software and changed the title, Solo Q, 0 to 3 billion in 30 days. I put a text overlay at the top of the screen, current assets, 0M. Because I was a new streamer, the platform gave me a small boost in traffic. A few people wandered in. Most left immediately, but once they saw the title, some stayed to comment. 3 billion in 30 days? You have 0 right now. That's 100 million a day. Stop bragging. Don't even bother watching. Just another delusional streamer. Block. He's just chasing clout. Even if you flame him, he wins. Look at his account. Level 30 and only 2 million in assets. He probably doesn't even know the maps yet. I didn't let the comments get to me. I just smiled. It's normal to have doubts, guys. But I keep my word. I thought for a second and added another line under the title. If I fail, I will stream in girls' clothing for a month. Just say you want a cross dress, bro. The chat exploded. Wait, look at the streamer's profile. He has real-life photos. Holy crap, he's handsome. And young. Looks like a college student. Before I had regressed, I'd posted a few photos on my social media from a trip after high school graduation. I was good-looking enough that I used to get a ton of DMs, mostly from guys, unfortunately. The old me had set his profile to private to avoid the harassment, but I had to make it public to stream. I was gonna leave, but my hand won't let me. Hey handsome, you free? Back off, Chengdu netizens. This guy is from Hangzhou. Can you turn on the camera? I'll send you a virtual sports car right now. I shook my head as the chat went off the rails. This was just the life of a handsome guy. I cleared out my entire warehouse, selling everything until my balance hit 0. Yes, I'm a student, I told the chat. I'm in my dorm, so I can't turn on the camera right now. All right, assets are at 0. The challenge officially begins. I took a screenshot of my account and the current time to prove I wasn't cheating. Damn, he's serious. Followed. This might be the start of a legend. The viewer count kept climbing. People were actually staying. I soon had 23 people watching. I picked the operator Wind 1 and queued for the 0 dam map on normal mode. A genius youth's first step, I muttered. 0 dam, 1 million extraction. The helicopter animation played, and I loaded in. My luck was good. Even though I was solo against squads of 3, I spawned at the 0 spot in the cement plant. This was the best spawn. The dam map usually had 6 squads, 3 on each side of the river. The squad at the east and west buildings always spawned first. As long as I knew where the other squad on my side was, I could move freely without being ambushed. Usually, the squad with the best spawn would rush the administrative building because the loot there was insane. If they didn't go there, it meant they were doing specific missions, which usually turned the map into a chaotic mess. From my spawn at the cement plant, I could jump onto a wooden crate and watch the extraction point and the top of the military camp. I had chosen a squid submachine gun from the starter gear sets. It was the strongest close-quarters weapon for beginners, but beyond 20 meters, it was about as useful as a burning stick. I checked the map. A big cotton bag, a high-value loot container, had spawned near the aviation crate on the second floor of the cement plant. Not a bad start, I whispered. Free loot right at the door. Since I was using a basic starter kit, anything I grabbed was pure profit. I moved toward the stairs, my eyes scanning every corner. I wasn't the rat I used to be. I was the predator now. Why isn't the streamer looting the aviation crate? One comment flashed across the screen. What is he doing? I didn't answer. I ran toward a fuel barrel located just to the left of the crate on the first floor. With a few quick, practiced jumps, I scaled the barrel and leaped. My character lunged through the air, landing perfectly on a hidden ledge tucked right under the ceiling of the cement plant. The chat exploded. A sea of question marks flooded the screen. I let out a small, confident smirk. In this era, players barely understood 30% of the Zero Dam map. We were in the early days of S2, and a spot like this, common knowledge in the future, was enough to blow their minds. Is he walking on walls? One viewer asked. I died right here last time. My teammates couldn't even find where the shots came from. So this was the spot all along. A few small gifts, hearts and sunglasses, started drifting across the screen. Some viewers were paying their tuition for the trick I just showed them. The gifts weren't worth much, but it was a start. Thanks for the support, guys, I said, keeping my eyes glued to the screen while I sat perched on the ceiling. This spot is nothing. The dam has dozens of these. Once I have time to play the Wyvern character, I'll show you what real movement looks like. Why didn't you loot the crate first? Someone asked. Who told you I was here to loot? I replied, my voice calm. I'm here to clear the lobby. If I open that crate, I might get a monitor or some gunpowder. But if I wait for a geared lord to walk in, I get his entire kit. In S2, there are no gear limits on normal mode. You can run into a guy wearing full tier 6 armor. I'm hunting human treasure chests today. The chat called me a dreamer. They said I was just good at talking big. If you're so good, why are you hiding? Go out and fight. Suddenly, gunshots rang out from the dormitory area. A few bot rounds followed by a crisp, rhythmic crack. Then, silence. I froze. My heart skipped a beat. Did you hear that? I whispered to the stream. That's the M7. In S2, before the nerfs, that gun is the undisputed king. High recoil, expensive to build, but it shreds everything. If someone is running a fully modded M7, they aren't here to scavenge. They're a geared squad here to bully newbies. I gripped my mouse tighter. A full M7 build cost around 700,000 currency. Add in the armor, and I was looking at a walking gold mine. He's coming, I muttered. The footsteps grew louder. A figure appeared in my sights. My special talent kicked in. In high-pressure moments, my mind goes cold. I process information faster. It's a My Xiaowen character. I analyzed for the viewers. Look at that armor. That's a T6 commander helmet. He's running tier 6 in a normal match? Today is my lucky day. Don't rush. My starter SMG can only hit his legs. I need to wait for him to start looting. I held my breath. The player reached the crate. 2 seconds after he opened the interaction menu, I unleashed hell. This squid, SMG barked, stitching bullets into his unprotected lower half. He screamed and collapsed. I didn't stop firing until the kill confirmed. I didn't want him seeing my face on the kill cam. He actually did it, the chat screamed. But I wasn't celebrating. He didn't turn into a loot box immediately, which meant he had teammates. I listened. 2 sets of heavy boots were approaching, but they were still outside. I threw a smoke grenade onto his body and jumped down. My hands moved like a blur. Helmet, armor, gun, rig, backpack. I stripped him clean in seconds. My hand speed was so fast the viewers couldn't even see the gear icons before they were on my body. I need to move, I told the stream. If these guys are pros, they'll clear corners. I can't win a face-to-face trade against 2 tier 6 players, even with this new gear. I have to play the ghost. I activated my smoke drone, sending a long trail of thick fog toward the exit. Then, instead of running, I laid down directly on top of the corpse I had just looted. Is he crazy? Someone typed. Run? They're coming for you. I'm not crazy, I whispered. Lying on the body hides my character model. Most people won't notice the difference in the heat of the moment. That smoke trail makes them think I bolted outside. Now, we wait for the backstab. Seconds later, 2 players rushed in, one carrying a heavy shield, the other a hand cannon. They glanced at their friend's body, saw the smoke leading outside, and sprinted right past me. They were perfectly synchronized, sliding and dashing into the fog. I felt the adrenaline surge. This was it. I stood up behind them. They didn't even have time to turn around before I mowed them both down from behind. Squad wiped, the screen announced. The chat went insane, but I was nearly deafened by a roar behind me. My 3 roommates, Lin Yuan, Chun Wei, and the others, were jumping up and down behind my chair. 3 geared guys. Old Jiang, you actually killed them all in a normal match. That spray transfer was insane. Chun Wei yelled. I turned back and gave them a small grin. Basic stuff. You catch them from behind, you win. Keep watching. When I hit 15 kills, then you can start cheering. I didn't relax. I threw more smoke, checked my corners, and began dragging the heavy bags back into cover. I was a rat who had finally tasted lion's blood, and I wasn't done yet. The chat was moving so fast I could barely read it. Everyone was talking about how calm I stayed while clearing the area. They said my awareness and restraint were beyond most players. If it were them, their hands would be shaking, and they would have dove straight into those loot boxes. I glanced at the screen and spoke softly. In this game, strategy and awareness matter more than aim. If you can't control your greed, you'll eventually get caught. The boxes are on the ground. Whether you loot them now or later, they belong to you. But if you get ambushed, they belong to someone else. The chat didn't want to hear it. They spammed that I was right, but that they weren't going to listen anyway. Behind me, my 3 roommates had abandoned their own games to watch over my shoulder. Zhang Jindong started teasing Chun Dexing immediately. He pointed out that every time Chun Dexing looted, he ignored the danger and just dove in. We had died so many times because of his greed. Chun Dexing playfully slapped his own hand, complaining that he just couldn't control himself when he saw a box. I laughed and told them that's just how it is. Some players are just greedy pigs. My roommate Chin Yulin looked at me. If they were pigs, what was I? I told him I was a majestic dragon and a battle-hardened wolf. At this point in the game's life cycle, the meta hadn't shifted to the advanced scout tactics yet. Most players were still using basic information skills. I knew that if I wanted to make it big, I had to become the symbol of aggression. I wanted people to think of my name whenever they thought of high-level play. Chun Dexing couldn't wait any longer. He begged me to open the boxes to see how much they were worth. I didn't waste any more time. I opened the first 2 crates. It was a gold mine. My roommates gasped. It was like a legendary reveal. I started pulling items out while Chun Dexing called them out like a sports commentator. Level 6 armor. A fully modded M7 rifle. Military-grade surgical kits. High-end combat stims. These guys were geared for the most dangerous map in the game, yet they had somehow queued into a low-level lobby. It was a slaughter. I moved fast, filling my bags with the highest value items. When I finally hovered my mouse over the total value, the number popped up. 8.4 million. My total loss for the round was barely 60,000. We were only 3 minutes into the match. Chun Dexing's voice was literally trembling. He grabbed my arm and told me to run for the extraction point immediately. The chat exploded. People couldn't believe I had found this much loot in a basic match. Some accused me of using actors, while others wondered if the guys I killed were going to delete the game out of shame. A few viewers warned me to hide in a corner for 20 minutes until the timer almost ran out. I just smiled. My stream numbers were climbing, reaching triple digits for the first time. I took a breath and did a quick self-introduction. I told them I was a college student and my goal was to earn 3 billion coins in 30 days, starting from 0. Today was day 1. Suddenly, a high-level viewer named Feng Qingyang sent a virtual sports car gift. He told me he was enjoying the show and promised an even bigger gift if I made it out alive. That car gift was worth more than my remaining food budget for the month. I thanked him, but I told him I wasn't leaving yet. I felt a surge of confidence. I told the stream I was going to challenge myself to craft the Heart of Africa, the rarest item in the game, right here in this low-level map. The comments turned toxic instantly. They thought I was getting arrogant because of one good fight. They were waiting for me to fail so they could laugh at me. I didn't care. I had decades of experience from my past life that they didn't know about. A few million coins meant nothing to me. I needed to create a legend. I needed moments that no one else could replicate. That was the only way to become the undisputed #1 player in the world. This match was my chance to break out. I wasn't just playing a game. I was creating a viral moment. I needed to break the record for the highest extraction value in a basic match and craft the Heart of Africa right in front of everyone. I wanted to show these players what true skill looked like. I couldn't leave yet. I had to clear the whole map. My luck and my skill were peaking, and I felt unstoppable. If a god stood in my way, I'd kill a god. If a Buddha blocked me, I'd kill a Buddha. My next destination was the administration building. In this game, unless you find a high-value item small enough to fit in your secure container, nothing belongs to you until you extract. You're just a temporary courier for your own loot. The road to extraction is paved with accidents. Carrying 8.4 million coins while staying in a basic match was a move very few people had the stomach for. I was basically a walking, breathing jackpot. My roommates were losing their minds. Chen Dexing, who usually only cared about food, watched me leave the cement plant and head for the administration building with his heart hammering against his ribs. He looked like he wanted to beg me to leave, but I wasn't nervous at all. I was wearing a full set of Tier 6 armor. Unless someone managed to shred my legs at close range like I did to that squad earlier, I wasn't going to die instantly. I pushed toward the building, clearing angles with fluid, practiced movements. The chat was confused. They didn't fully understand my pathing, but they could tell my map knowledge was on another level. Suddenly, gunfire echoed from inside the building. I frowned. That wasn't player fire. That was Saeed, the boss. Did that mean no one had entered the building yet? The comments started flying. Some called me a cheater, claiming I knew the boss was there without seeing him. I didn't even have to defend myself. Experienced players in the chat shut them down, explaining that Saeed's rhythmic machine gun fire was unmistakable. I didn't care about the noise. I needed to get inside. I injected a cocktail of combat stims, feeling the 9-dragon power surge through my character. After listening to confirm the immediate entrance was clear, I decided to show the viewers a pro tip. Most people get camped at the front door, so I headed for the back. I climbed onto some crates outside the restroom, brushed against the iron railing, and leaped onto a black streetlight. From there, I jumped straight through the restroom window, shattering the glass. I was in. The chat went wild again. They were calling the map my personal playground. I ignored them and crept forward. I heard footsteps in the computer room. It was Saeed. In this game, there are 3 things you don't do. You don't trade shots with Saeed, you don't try to knife Rice, and you don't duel the sniper boss. Anyone who tried usually ended up with grass growing over their virtual grave. Even with Tier 6 armor, Saeed could drop me in seconds. I had to get close. I fired a single shot to bait him and hid behind a corner. He took the bait, performing a tactical roll right into my space. I lunged out and swung my blade. 1 hit. He dropped dead. I blinked. Since when did the Mercy Blade do that much damage? I didn't waste time wondering. I opened his bag and immediately used a shortcut to drag his entire backpack into mine. My total loot value in the top left corner flickered. It jumped from 8.3 million all the way to 12.6 million. My heart skipped a beat. He dropped a red card. Not just any card, the East Wing manager's key card. I pulled the card out to inspect it. The metallic ting sound of the card animation was like heavenly music to my ears. I retreated to the safety of the restroom to check my phone. The chat was a mess of question marks. They were accusing me of knowing it was a red card before the search bar even finished. I took a second to explain the game mechanics. In this version of the game, the moment you open a container, the loot data is generated. Even if the search bar is still moving, the value is already added to your total. The 4 million coin jump told me everything I needed to know. When the search finally finished, there it was, a beautiful, crimson red card. The mood in the stream shifted. People were actually starting to believe I could hit that 3 billion goal. My follower count started climbing rapidly. I was just a new streamer in his first match, but I already had hundreds of people watching. In 6 months, everyone would know these tricks, but right now, I was a pioneer. Rebirth was my greatest advantage. Suddenly, a massive rocket animation filled my screen. Feng Xingyang had sent a Douyin #1 gift, the most expensive one available. I was too busy looting Saeed's ammo to notice, but my roommates weren't. Chen Yulin, Chen Dexing, and Zhang Jindong stood up and shouted in unison, thanking the boss for the gift and wishing him good luck in his own games. Their synchronized cheering echoed through the dorm. I thanked him too, though I wasn't as loud as they were. I looked at my 3 friends and felt a surge of gratitude. A simple look was enough to communicate it. I had found something more valuable than a heart of Africa, brothers for life. I realized then that while I was a technical pro, I wasn't much of an entertainer. My roommates were the missing piece of the puzzle. I glanced at my small phone screen, struggling to read the flood of messages. I definitely needed a second monitor. My laptop was barely holding on. Even with the settings optimized, I was struggling to stay under 100 frames per second. For a pro player, that kind of lag is a death sentence. I needed money, and I needed it fast. I also needed a high-definition camera. I knew my looks were a major asset. If I wanted to build a brand, people needed to see my face. My ambition in this life was hitting its peak. Suddenly, a cold, mechanical voice echoed in my mind. The world lines had finished merging. The system was active. It sensed my intense desire to win and initialized the Delta Force Overlord system. Since my starting skills were already elite, it swapped the standard beginner pack for a red single-match luck card. It activated instantly. I froze. The legendary system had actually arrived. I didn't know what a luck card did yet, but I knew I needed a moment to process this. My stomach also chose that exact moment to growl. "Dexing, come here. Take over for a second," I said, jumping out of my chair. "I've got an emergency. Bathroom now." Shin Dexing looked like he was about to have a heart attack. He sat down at my desk with trembling hands, his eyes wide as he stared at the screen. He didn't even try to move. He just made my character crouch in a corner, terrified to breathe. I ignored him and focused on the mental interface. It was beautiful in its simplicity. 3 tabs: Attributes, Missions, and Mall. I clicked on Attributes first. A 3D model of my body rotated on the left, while a list of stats scrolled on the right. I was 18 years old and 6 feet tall. My luck for this match was pinned at a maximum of 7 stars. My physical stats like strength and constitution were average, but my looks and charm were both sitting at a solid 85. Then I saw the gaming stats. Reaction, 95. Gunplay, 88. Awareness, 93. Movement, 85. The system labeled these as professional grade. It noted that the theoretical human limit was 100. The system's evaluation was hauntingly accurate. It described my reaction speed as the absolute limit of human imagination. In those millisecond windows where games are won or lost, I had the ultimate edge. I could see the world in slow motion. It was why I was always accused of cheating in my past life. But the system also pointed out my Achilles heel, my gunplay. It wasn't perfectly stable. I had the speed to see the enemy, but sometimes my aim lacked that final, frame-perfect precision. In my previous life, I had just started to fix that flaw when my career was cut short. A broken arm and a bad contract had ended my dreams. But now, everything was different. My reaction speed was already at 95. If I could push everything to 100, I wouldn't just be a pro. I would be the undisputed GOAT of FPS history. I moved on to the Missions tab. There were 2 types, normal and weekly challenges. Normal missions were straightforward. I earned Overlord points, the currency for the system mall, by getting kills and extracting loot. A kill in a high-level match was worth 10 points. Extracting 1,000,000 coins worth of gear was another 10. Finding a Heart of Africa? That was a massive 200-point bonus. Then I looked at the weekly challenges. My jaw dropped. The first one asked me to extract 3 Hearts of Africa in a single match. The second demanded 20 kills in a solo versus trio secret map. The third was the most insulting. Extract 20 million coins worth of loot while carrying nothing but a backpack. No armor, no rig, just a bag and a dream. The rewards were massive, 1,000 points and a gacha spin for each, but the tasks were borderline impossible. Even the best players in the world would struggle to kill 20 people in a map that only held 18 players. Finally, I opened them all. It was split into weekly and seasonal rotations. I scrolled through the first page and felt my pulse quicken. There were skill books for things like piano mastery for 500 points. There were energy potions for 200. There was even a level 1 luck card for 800 points. It was all right there for the taking. I just had to win. I was just about to dive deeper into the aura cards, those legendary items that practically guarantee high-tier loot, when a frantic shout shattered my focus. "Phone, get out of there. I hear footsteps. I'm scared, man." It was Chindexing. I frowned, my fingers instantly snapping back to the mouse. Was there actually someone else left in the administration building? If I got taken out by some rat, hiding in a corner after a start like this, I'd never live it down. My roommates were tense, and the live stream chat was exploding with "he's coming for you" warnings. I couldn't let this perfect run be ruined. I listened intently, filtering the game audio. The footsteps were coming from the east wing. Wait, that didn't sound like a push. It sounded like someone was reviving a teammate. I didn't give them a second to breathe. I sprinted toward the east wing, Heavy footsteps be damned. I charged through the computer room and saw something bizarre. 3 unlooted crates lying neatly on the floor. Based on how active the boss, Saeed, had been before I arrived, I had a feeling I knew what happened. But first, I had to clear the building. Listen closely, guys, I said to the stream, playing the role of the expert. In Delta Force, the sound of a revive carries about 29 meters. I can hear it faintly from the restroom area, which means they're likely in the hallway near the special loot room. I rounded the corner with a jump peek. Sure enough, a player using the Luna character was crouched right next to the massive loot crate, desperately trying to bring a teammate back. I didn't even have to think. I adjusted my aim midair and let out 2 clean shots. Down. Team wiped. The special loot room was open, and 3 more unlooted crates sat there like a buffet. My roommates gasped, and the chat was losing its mind. Even I felt a bit overwhelmed. My luck today was terrifying. I thought back to the aura card the system gave me. The 7-star luck for this match was no joke. I checked the crates. 3 naked runners, players who brought in 0 gear, hoping to find riches. I spat in disgust. Trash loot. I checked their dog tags. Aside from the Luna I just killed, the others had been executed by Saeed. I bet these guys found the big loot, forgot where they were out of pure excitement, and got shredded by the boss. I analyzed. I headed back to the West Wing computer room to check the other 3 crates. Same story. Saeed had been on a rampage, protecting the loot like a rabid dog until I showed up to kill him. The chat was calling me Sherlock Holmes and Detective Phone. People started sharing their own stories of finding ghost lobbies, where the boss killed everyone, leaving a graveyard of loot for whoever was brave enough to finish the job. I finished looting the bodies. It was mostly standard-issue junk. It didn't matter, though. If I couldn't get rich off their gear, I'd get rich off the map itself. My luck was peaking. I was a reincarnated gamer with a system. Who could possibly be luckier than me today? Let's check the computers, I muttered. Maybe a supercompute processor? I walked up to a laptop sitting on a desk and pressed F to interact. Suddenly, the laptop disappeared from the desk. A line of text flashed at the bottom of my screen. Collectible item, laptop obtained. I bolted upright in my chair. My 3 roommates let out a collective roar. The chat went completely white with messages. Nobody had realized that wasn't just a background prop or a common computer. It was a 6-slot red tier laptop. You have got to be kidding me, I yelled. The 3 guys who died in this room had walked right past it. If they were watching my stream, they'd probably uninstall the game. In the current game version, that laptop was worth 5 to 6 million coins. It was one of the rarest drops in the game, second only to the Heart of Africa. Reported. This guy has a drop rate hack, one viewer joked. I'm not jealous of the kills, but 2 reds in 1 low-level match? I can't take this, another added. My total match value hit 18,138,242 coins. The screen was blinding. Feng Qingyang sent another expensive virtual gift, and my follower count was skyrocketing. I had gained over 300 followers in a single match. This was the snowball effect I needed. Once I edited this footage and posted it, the traffic would be insane. I rubbed my hands together, grinning. I had already crafted the Heart of Africa and found a legendary laptop, and I hadn't even finished searching the building. I cleared the rest of the West Wing. Unfortunately, no more reds appeared, just a few gold tier items. Wow, where's the big loot? This feels like a normal match now, I joked, teasing the chat. Shut up. Your normal is better than our best runs, they fired back. The basement area wasn't open in this version of the map yet, so I headed back to the East Wing. I vacuumed up everything on the 1st and 2nd floors. My total value climbed to 18.4 million. Finally, I walked back into the special loot room and stared at the massive crate Saeed had been guarding. You know, I whispered, I have a feeling they opened this, but didn't actually grab the good stuff before they died. I stepped over the bodies and hit F. The moment the inventory window popped up, I slammed it shut. My heart skipped a beat. In that split second, I saw the item patterns, a 3x3 block and a 1x4 block. I knew exactly what those shapes meant. I reached over and turned on my music player, blasting a high-energy track. When the beat drops, the gold pops. I shouted. The chat was filled with question marks. I felt a surge of pure adrenaline. I had played thousands of hours of Delta Force in my past life, but nothing compared to this. The 7-star luck wasn't just a boost. It was a god-tier blessing. I stared at the grid. A 3x3 block and a 1x4 block. My eyes nearly popped out of my head. It was a tank model and a smoothbore gun. The chat went nuclear. There's no way. A 100% drop rate for a tank and a smoothbore. One viewer screamed in text. Another joked, "Brother, did you bribe the developers? I've never seen this kind of luck." Some tried to rationalize it. Wait, remember he wiped his account to 0 before this. This has to be a compensation match from the system. I laughed as I dragged the items into my bag. Compensation? Even a pity timer wouldn't give me this much loot. My total value for the match hit 21.22 million coins. I was just one step away from being able to craft 2 Hearts of Africa manually. The new viewers joining the stream were losing their minds. They looked at my earnings, then looked at the match difficulty. Normal. Normal mode? 21 million. They couldn't believe it. In this stage of the game, those numbers were unheard of. I have to thank that rat brother who opened the safe for me, I said, grinning at the camera. I'm just riding his luck. I walked over to Saeed's corpse. In a moment of pure theatricality, I crouched and stood up 3 times, basically bowing to the dead boss. Thanks, old Saeed. If you hadn't put up such a fight, I never would have found that laptop or these big reds. And thanks for the East Wing Manager keycard, too. I'll kill you more gently next time. The match was ending. Only 10% of the time remained. I headed toward the extraction switch. My roommates were watching over my shoulder, their breath hitching. You're actually going to make it out, Chun Dexing whispered. Is 21 million the record for a normal match? I think someone got 2 Hearts of Africa once, Lin Yuan replied. But this is definitely top tier. Chun Dexing clicked his tongue. Foam, if you actually had some keys for this run, you could have looted even more. It's a shame. I smirked. Who said I don't have a key? I pulled out the East Wing Manager card I'd just looted off the boss. The room went silent. I wasn't leaving yet. I headed straight for the manager's room, also known as the powder room, because it was usually empty. Don't get your hopes up, I told the chat as I swiped the card. This room is famous for being trash. There are 3 spawn points on the floor and desks. I checked the floor. Nothing. I checked the desk. Empty. I checked the shelf behind it. Still nothing. See? The powder room never fails to disappoint. I joked. But I wasn't done. There were still 2 large safes. I walked up to the first one and did a little ritual, moving my character in circles. Please, just 1 more gold. I hit F. The search bar filled up. 2 items appeared, both 2-slot items. Just some mid-tier loot. 1 more safe, I muttered. My heart was pounding against my ribs. Come on, give me something legendary. Let's see the limit of this luck. I opened the final safe. 2 single-slot items appeared. The chat started laughing. Single slots? Enjoy your silver coins and rusty daggers, streamer. I didn't laugh. I knew something they didn't. The Heart of Africa was a single-slot item, and it had a very specific, fast search speed. The first slot finished searching. A massive, glittering diamond appeared. The Heart of Africa. Holy crap, my roommates screamed in unison. But the search bar for the second slot was already finishing. My breath caught in my throat. A second Heart of Africa popped into existence right next to the first one. 2 Hearts of Africa. In 1 safe. In a normal match. The chat was a blur of question marks. I held up my hands to the camera, away from the keyboard. I swear, I'm not using hacks. This is just pure, unadulterated luck. In his office, Feng Jiancheng, the high-level viewer known as Feng Qingyang, actually stood up from his chair. He was a billionaire in real life. Game currency meant nothing to him. But seeing someone pull this off? That was entertainment. He didn't hesitate. 5 carnival gifts, the most expensive ones on the platform, flooded my screen. Thanks for the 5 carnivals, Boss Feng. I shouted, feeling the adrenaline peak. I was going to craft a Heart of Africa, but I guess the game decided to just hand me 2 instead. I opened my inventory to check the final tally. The total value for the run was 47.5 million coins. I looked at the camera, a smug grin on my face. Should I go check the convenience store too? Maybe there's a third one waiting for me. The chat was blowing up. You're a streamer, man. You're at 47.5 million. Just 2.5 million more, and you hit the half-billion mark. Go find a bot to kill and loot him. I looked at the screen and laughed. Are you guys crazy? I have over 30 million in my secure container alone. You think I'm going out there just to get exit camped? Not happening. The half-billion goal could wait for a confidential map. This was my very first stream, my very first match. I had to leave them wanting more. Time to go, I said. I started humming a little tune as I ran toward the extraction point. I knew the timing was a bit late. In this world, the famous creator Old Flying Fish had already gone viral with his rat strategy videos, and his signature, looting song, was already a meme. But I didn't care. I reached the extraction zone inside the giant dam and hunkered down in a corner. While the timer ticked away, I kept inspecting my loot. The Heart of Africa, the Manager's Key, the Tang Dynasty Spear, the tank model. I clicked them over and over. The chat was losing its mind. My 3 roommates were standing behind me, their eyes glowing green with envy. They hadn't been playing the game long and had barely seen any high-tier red items, let alone the legendary Heart of Africa. Brother Foam, let me inspect it. Shindexing begged. They took turns sitting in my chair, inspecting the gems, taking photos with their phones, and immediately posting them to their social media feeds to brag. I just shook my head. They were shamelessly flexing my loot as their own. The countdown hit 0. The extraction animation played, marking a perfect end to a normal dam run. 47.5 million coins in a single normal run, I told the camera. Who else is doing it like this? Half of the daily goal is already done. Feng, you're a god, Chun Dexing shouted, looking at me like a hungry pig waiting for a feeding. When are you going to carry us? Suddenly, Zhang Jindong's expression changed. He placed his hands heavily on my shoulders. Wait a minute. I remember now. When you pulled that first heart, didn't you say you were trading 10 years of your roommates' single lives for it? Chun Dexing and Chun Yulin dropped their phones. They flanked me, grabbing my arms. I started sweating. Hey, let's just hop on and I'll carry you guys to some loot. I tried to deflect. Don't change the subject. Shinwei barked. Whose 10 years did you trade? Be fair. There were 2 hearts. That's 6.6 years from each of us. As we wrestled and joked around, the viewers in the chat started getting nostalgic, reminiscing about their own college days when life was just about gaming with brothers. I didn't need to organize my stash. It was empty anyway. I hit Ctrl+F and dumped everything into the warehouse. As the items transferred, a cold, mechanical voice echoed in my mind. Asterisk ding. Match reward settled. Host has received 321 dominance points. Asterisk. Wait, system, I thought, frowning. That's not right. I brought out 47.5 million in loot. Based on your rates, that should be 475 points. Are you skimming off the top? You know what happens to greedy capitalists, right? The system responded instantly. Asterisk dominance points are calculated based on match intensity. In non-confidential matches, kills do not grant points. The current ratio is based on the highest tier of gameplay. A normal dam match has an intensity coefficient of 0.2. The calculation is correct, asterisk. I understood. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. Stomping kids in a low-level lobby was fun, but it didn't prove my skill to the system. To get the real points, I had to go to the black room high-pressure lobbies, or even the encrypted lobbies where the real monsters and the cheaters played. I checked my stats. I was only level 30 and my KD wasn't high enough yet. I was still in the newbie protection phase. Fine, I muttered. Let's see what I can buy. I opened the weekly mall. System, why are there 8 items spread across 2 pages? Just put them on one. Asterisk request received. Adjusting, asterisk. The interface shifted, showing everything at once. I scrolled through the items. Asterisk piano mastery, blue level 10 skill. 500 points. Asterisk energy potion, green restores stamina. 200 points. Asterisk luck card, blue increases daily luck by 1 star. 800 points. Asterisk mountain bike, white just a normal bike. 100 points. Asterisk video editing mastery, blue 600 points. Asterisk perfect sleep pillow, purple guarantees deep, restorative sleep. 1,200 points. Asterisk perfect human, gold heals all hidden injuries and optimizes one body part to the peak of human evolution. 4,000 points. Asterisk. Asterisk second growth card. Gold triggers 3 months of secondary physical development. 6,000 points. Asterisk. 2 gold items in 1 week. The system's drop rate was better than the game's. Then I saw the prices. You greedy merchant, I cursed. But I wanted all of them. The editing skill was a must. In this era of short-form video, streaming alone wasn't enough. I needed viral clips to build a massive fan base, just like old Flying Fish had. I didn't have the time or money to hire a pro editor yet. The last 3 items were insanely expensive, but their effects were life-changing. Especially that second growth card. I was already 6 feet tall and well-endowed, but who wouldn't want to be faster, higher, and stronger? Or in this case, slower, higher, and longer. My mouth was practically watering. Next to the weekly mall were 2 other tabs, Season Mall and Gacha Wheel. Both were grayed out. Asterisk complete 1 challenge task to unlock the Season Mall. Complete all weekly tasks to unlock the Gacha Wheel. Asterisk. I looked at the current challenge tasks. My hands tightened into fists. System, look at these requirements. Is this even meant for humans? But then, I started doing the math. 1 challenge task was worth 1,000 Dominator points. Completing all 3 would net me 3,000, plus another 3,000 in bonus rewards. That was 6,000 points total. I already had 1,000 points sitting in my pocket. If I played my cards right, I could grab that second growth card immediately. But I didn't just want the card. I wanted the editing mastery, the pillow, and the perfect human upgrade too. The total bill came to 6,600 points. The mall refreshed next Monday, which gave me 7 days to bridge the gap. That meant I needed to earn nearly 1,000 points every single day. It sounded daunting, but I started doing the math. My goal was to earn 100 million Havoc coins a day anyway. Between loot value and kills, 1,000 points was actually achievable. The catch? I had to complete every single challenge task. If I missed even one, that 6,000 point gap would become an impossible canyon. System, I whispered, grit in my voice. You planned this, didn't you? The mechanical voice responded instantly. The Delta Dominator system serves the host wholeheartedly. The host is always the center of our mission. Stop, I cut it off. Any more corporate talk, and we're going to get flagged. Just say it plainly. I either do the tasks or I don't. The system went silent, as if acknowledging my choice was voluntary. Then, it chimed again. A reminder. The host can also use points to upgrade physical attributes. I opened my status panel. Seeing the plus signs next to my stats made my heart race. My reaction speed was already at 95. I wondered what the human limit of 99 felt like. I hovered over the button and pressed it. Asterisk insufficient points. Upgrade failed. Asterisk. I blinked. What? How much does 1 point cost? Points required increase with attribute level. The system explained coldly. The scale appeared in my mind. Moving from 60 to 69 cost 1,000 points per level. From 70 to 79, it was 5,000. Once you hit 90, it jumped to 50,000. And to go from 95 to 99, it cost a staggering 100,000 points per level. To reach 100, it was 1,000,000. I wanted to laugh, but I was too stunned. I finally understood. Other systems gave you a god tier gift box and made you invincible on day 1. My system only gave me one thing, the grind. It was just like the Delta Force developers. Making money was hard, but spending it was effortless. I suspected the system designer shared the same twisted logic as the game's balance team. Still, a cheat was better than no cheat. I shook off the frustration and looked at the map selection. I chose Confidential Aerospace. Today, I was going to be a cold-blooded killing machine. Aerospace was about to meet its king. I started my preparations. I rigged up 6 sets of Tier 6 gear and grabbed a 20-slot chest rig. I equipped the heaven-swallowing backpack, moving with a level of confidence that bordered on arrogance. Then came the weapon choice. I stared at the 3 fully modded M7 rifles in my stash. In the current meta, the M7 and the M14 were both T0 royalty. In 2 days, the developers would nerf the M7, knocking it off its throne. But the M14? That gun was a legendary survivor. Even 7 seasons into the future, it would still be a top-tier choice. For now, The M7 dominated mid to long range, while the M14 was a beast up close. M7 it is, I decided. At mid-range, this thing fears nothing. As I customized the rifle, my livestream chat exploded. With that luck, why are you going full gear? One viewer typed. Go in with a knife. Don't waste the hidden luck of this account. You idiot. Put down the tier 6 gear, another screamed. Aggressive play has no future. Ratting is the way. I ignored them. I've always been an aggressive streamer, I said to the camera. If you don't believe in my skill, just watch. I'll show you what a genius looks like. I finished the build on my M7. To me, the M7 and M14 were both just tools, and I knew how to use them better than anyone. Next, I needed access cards for the West Zone Gate and the East Zone Bridge. These things were expensive, so expensive that my 2.6 million Havoc coins weren't enough to buy the full set. I skipped the Central Corridor card for now. Without these keys, you either had to fight your way through every squad on the map or hide for 10 minutes like a coward. There was a saying in the future. If you feel like nobody cares about you, try running through the Central Corridor. You'd find out real quick how many people were watching you through a scope. The S2 version of the corridor wasn't as suicidal as later seasons, but I wasn't taking risks. If I spawned near there, I'd just clear the area out entirely. I stocked up on surgical kits, high-grade meds, and stamina boosters. I was still short on cash, so I needed 4 more stacks of 6.8mm armor-piercing rounds. I gritted my teeth and sold off some spare loot from my stash to make it happen. I was going in heavy, and I wasn't planning on coming back empty-handed. Aggressive play requires the courage to burn your boats and risk it all. I was going all in. 500,000 coins on the line. If I didn't make 10 million this round, I wasn't leaving. I opened the ranked menu, turned off squad fill, and selected the classified aerospace base. The chat went wild. 666. The streamer got lucky last round, but this map is a death trap, one viewer commented. Classified aerospace? Your mobile loot box is here, boys. Everyone queue up at the same time as him. If you find him, you're rich. Aerospace is a money pit, another joked. You go in with millions and come out with nothing. I successfully matched and chose the Viron operator. I took a deep breath. The goal for this round is a full map clear, I told the camera. 10 million coin extraction. Let's go. Chapter 12, The Fastest Legend of Aerospace. The screen loaded, and the familiar futuristic atmosphere of the aerospace base filled the monitor. This was the S2 version of the map, a place that felt both nostalgic and strange. I had played thousands of matches here in my past life, but the S3 updates hadn't happened yet. There was no broken bridge, the layout of the CEO's office was different, and the prison spawn points hadn't been moved. Even in the future, with maps like the Tides Prison or the Midnight Dam, Aerospace remained the most popular map for pro tryouts and streamer tournaments. It was a masterpiece of design. 8 spawn points, ranked by quality, all capable of watching over one another. You had to gather info immediately or die. Because of the winner-takes-all layout and the dual-gate extraction system, it was rare for more than one squad to make it out alive. It was the developer's greatest tool for burning player currency. I spawned at Central Control. In S2, this was a top-tier spawn. You didn't have to worry about getting sniped from the prison area. Instead, you were the one doing the sniping. They called the Central Control player the Warden for a reason. If no one used an access card to open the side paths, I could effectively gatekeep the entire map from here. My Viron landed. I immediately pulled out my knife and opened my inventory. I took off my tier 6 helmet and armor and stuffed them into my backpack. Time is tight, I muttered. I need to move fast. Taking the gear off removes the movement speed penalty while I'm sprinting to my position. I didn't stop to loot. I ignored the oil crates on the first floor and the large weapon boxes on the second. Is the streamer blind? The chat hissed. He's skipping everything. Eat the loot, man, before someone else does. I'm jealous of whoever kills him. Looting his body would be like finding half of the heart of Africa. I ignored them. I reached the trash cans by the Central Control main gate, threw my tier 6 gear back on, and toggled my M7 to the 3x scope. I aimed straight at the Sector 2 bridge. There's a legendary card in aerospace, I told the viewers while holding my angle. It's the fattest card in the game. It can make you rich in the first 30 seconds. Anyone know which one? The chat started guessing wildly. CEO card. Dorm 3. They even started arguing with each other. I didn't give them the answer. I focused. Suddenly, 3 figures appeared on the Sector 2 bridge. A Mai Xiaowen, a Red Wolf, and a Viron. I was stunned. They didn't even throw smoke. They were just strolling across the bridge like they owned the place. In the future, no one would dare cross this bridge without a smokescreen. This era of Delta Force had a certain innocent beauty to it. These guys really thought spawning near the Sector 2 card meant the loot was already theirs. I held my breath, pressed shift to steady my aim, and opened fire. The M7 roared. Under that overwhelming firepower, the 3 of them dropped one after another. They didn't even have time to react. It was like shooting practice targets. 3 sets of Tier 5 gear. Gone. Remember the priority? I lectured. Always tap the Red Wolf first because of the smoke grenades. Then the Viron for the mobility. Leave the Mai Xiaowen for last. No way, a viewer shouted. Are you actually a god? That distance, and you didn't miss a single shot. Is he cheating? How is an M7 that stable at 100 meters? Stop crying, someone else shot back. A fully modded M7 is a laser. If you can't hit that, go back to PUBG. Streamer, give us the build code for that M7. I'll make a separate video for the build, I replied. This setup prioritizes handling speed over recoil control, so it might be jumpy for beginners. I'll tweak it for you guys later. What about a budget version? I got you, I said. I'll post a cost-effective half-modded build too. In S2, the M7 barrel only adds stats, not raw damage, so it's viable. I didn't move toward the bodies. I'm not looting yet. Crossing that bridge without smoke is suicide. I'll get them after I clear the map. But remember this spot. Don't think you're safe just because you have a keycard. If someone is at central control, you're just a delivery service. That's the fattest card I was talking about, the one your enemies bring to you. The chat was flooded with learn something new and fastest legend of aerospace. I popped a stamina stim and headed toward the prison area. I checked the bridge info. West gate was closed. East crane hadn't moved. As the warden, I had to stay vigilant. As I moved toward the sandbags, a specific comment caught my eye. Then 10 more people copied it. Wait, the squad he just wiped on the bridge. It's the same 3 guys he killed with the smoke drone in the last match. Holy crap, it is. I recognize that Mai Xiaowen's ID. It sounds like a cute girl. This is hilarious. I just checked her match history. Another viewer chimed in. It's definitely them. Talk about bad luck. The chat was moving faster than I could read. Someone had actually done the research. They tracked the match history of the squad I just wiped. They failed to extract at the dam, and then they failed to extract here at the aerospace base. The killer was the same person both times, me. I almost burst out laughing. What kind of twisted fate was this? That team's mental state had to be completely shattered. I joked with the stream that I'd probably have 3 friend requests waiting for me in the lobby, but then the tone of the comments shifted. Wait, look at the ID. Mai Xiaowen's ID is Miss Coco. That's the same name as that massive influencer on Douyin with 10 million followers. A scout from my chat confirmed it. It really was her. Miss Coco was currently streaming, and she was crying her eyes out. My chat started panicking, half of them joking about jumping ship before the bombing started. Can I still leave the fan club? One viewer asked. Just for the record, the streamer's actions don't represent the viewers. If you want to flame someone, flame him alone. I was stunned. Was this a surrender? While I was processing this, my 3 roommates, Lin Yuan, Chen Wei, and Zhang Jindong, had already pulled up her stream. Their faces turned grim. They shoved a phone in my face, and I saw a girl crying so hard she looked like she'd been personally victimized by a villain. Why is this Zhang phone guy so mean? She sobbed. He keeps killing me. I clicked the wrong map and ended up at the dam, and he took my last Tier 6 set. I sold my red items just to afford this aerospace run, thinking I could make it back at the Sector 2 area, and then... She looked at the death screen. Killer, Jiang Feng. Match time, 20 minutes and 23 seconds. She wailed even louder. My Haifu coins. My M7. My Tier 6 gear. I stayed silent, clicking on her profile. My heart skipped a beat. 18 million followers. I felt a bit numb. Then, I spotted a familiar name in her chat. A guy with a level 1 fan badge from my own channel. Fun fact, the viewer wrote in her chat. Jiang Feng is currently wearing your Tier 6 gear and holding the M7 he took from you in the last match. He even killed you with your own bullets. Her sobbing turned into a full-blown downpour. I started to sweat. Jin Chu, you're a monster. Why would you go to her stream with my fan badge and say that? She has 100,000 people watching. You're trying to get me killed. My chat didn't care. They were busy fueling the fire. They realized she was beautiful, rich, and had legs that seemed to go on forever. Half my fans were already abandoning me to go comfort her. They started telling her lies, claiming I said she was just a bot I could kick aside whenever I wanted. They called me a low-value man and told her I'd even mocked her body in the last game. I wasn't actually angry. They were just trolls. I leaned into the drama, acting heartbroken. You guys are too much. You're selling me out just to get a girl's attention. I better see some virtual gifts for this betrayal. I hadn't cheated or used bugs. It was just a game. I didn't know who she was when I pulled the trigger. In a competitive game, everyone is just a walking pile of loot. On the screen, Coco finally looked up. Her eyes and nose were bright red, and her face was pale. She wiped her tears, looking naturally stunning even without makeup. I had a dark thought I didn't dare say out loud. She looks so good crying. Maybe she should cry a little more. Thank you to the friend named Jin Chu for the info, she said, her voice like cracking ice. Anyone with a Jiang Feng fan badge is not welcome here. Leave. She searched my ID. When she saw I was only level 30 with 47 million in assets, she let out a cold, hateful laugh. Then she checked my match history. One record stood out. A successful extraction from the dam with a loot value of 47.5 million coins. She smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Her teammates, two pro players named Walnut and B, finally spoke up. I knew that guy fell off at the dam, one of them said. I couldn't find his position at all. He's definitely a cheater. What do you expect from a level 30 account? He probably doesn't even have parents to worry about. Don't be mad, Coco. Getting killed by a hacker happens. We'll pay you back for the gear. Coco didn't wait. She filled out a detailed report against me, writing a whole essay in the report box. You don't need to pay me back. I want to play the game properly, not get carried. But I'm tired. I'm done for today. She looked at her chat. People were telling her I was live on Douyin and that she should use her privileges. She had the contact info for the game developers from a previous collaboration. Everyone calm down, she told her viewers. Don't go to his stream to flame him. Don't give him the attention. I'll just handle this directly with the devs. I was panicked now. Wait, she's actually calling the devs? I'm not a cheater. I'm streaming the whole thing. Someone explain it to her. My fans tried to help, but they made it worse. They explained I was doing a 30 billion in 30 days challenge and that the 47 million run was just luck because I found a tank smoothbore and 2 hearts in the manager's office. Coco just kept wiping her tears, looking miserable. Her chat was relentless. A level 30 doing that. Most people don't even know the damn map by level 30, and he's wiping squads at aerospace? He's a hacker. Jiang Feng fans, stop defending him. It's pathetic. No normal person can hit 30 billion in a month. Only a cheater could even dream of that. I had just finished a match where I walked out of the manager's office with a tank smoothbore and 2 hearts of Africa. To the chat, that wasn't luck, it was proof. They claimed no one could know a squad spawned at the dual element area without wall hacks. The insults were flying, telling me my parents would be ashamed and that I was a dead man walking. I couldn't let this narrative spin out of control. Coco was a massive creator with over 100,000 viewers. She had real influence and direct ties to the developers. If she labeled me a cheater, my career was over before it started. But I also saw an opportunity. This was a massive pool of traffic. If I could prove my skill under this kind of pressure, I'd skyrocket. I didn't need to panic because I wasn't cheating. I had the skills, and I knew how to prove it. I just needed to play the villain for a moment before the big reveal. I quickly hopped into Coco's stream and dropped a virtual sports car gift to get her attention. I'm not a cheater, I typed in the chat. I'm streaming the whole thing. Come watch my perspective if you don't believe me. Coco saw the message and hesitated. The streamer says he's legit, she told her audience. Should we give him a chance? Her chat erupted in no, and don't be naive, but Coco stayed rational. There's no hard evidence yet. We can't just ruin someone without proof. I'll give him a chance to self-authenticate. She looked at the camera, her expression serious. If you're cheating, I'll personally send the footage to the devs and Douyin executives. If you're not, I'll apologize to you in front of everyone and send you a carnival gift. She clicked into my stream. Immediately, my viewer count exploded. I went from 100 people to over 2,000 in seconds. It was a 20-fold jump. Coco, showing the grace of her wealthy upbringing, even told her fans to stay polite and stop attacking me while she watched. I was currently playing as Viron, prone under the central control bridge. I'd been there for 5 minutes, and my legs felt numb. The sound of gunfire from the prison area was calling to me. I wasn't worried about the cheating allegations. Every top-tier FPS player gets accused. To me, words were cheap. I'd let my gun do the talking. I decided to stop hiding. I had 2,000 eyes on me and a massive audience watching through Coco. It was time for a masterclass. I grabbed a C4 charge, primed it, and sprinted toward the prison. Look at him go, someone in the chat sneered. He's not even checking corners. He knows exactly where people are. Total hacker. I didn't slow down. The damn map only spawns 16 to 18 players, I explained calmly to the camera. In most cases, that's 6 squads. If there are 7, it means 2 are solo players. There are 2 god spawns, the dorms and the dual element area. That's why I went straight to the bridge to gatekeep dual element at the start. As players get better, that spawn won't be a blessing anymore. It'll be a death trap. The chat mocked me, calling me a clown for challenging the meta. They cited famous pro players who said the dual element spawn was the best in the game. I ignored them. I knew the future patches. I knew how the meta evolved in my past life. Coco, however, was quiet. She played high-pressure matches every day. She started realizing that my logic about spawn points and player counts matched her own experiences perfectly. Her skepticism began to flicker. I reached the printing room. The gunfire inside had stopped. They knew I was coming because I hadn't stayed quiet. I stood at the first floor entrance and started performing frame-perfect jiggle peeks. Real pros can tell a hacker from a master just by their movement. A hacker usually moves like a bot because the software does the work. My movement was fluid, my crosshair placement was pixel-perfect on headlines, and my peaks were so fast I was barely a ghost on the enemy's screen. Feng Qingyang, the high-level viewer still in my chat, watched with wide eyes. This wasn't just good, it was beautiful. I gathered all the info I needed in 3 quick peeks. 1 Luna on the cabinets. You can only jump there from the second-floor stairs, I muttered. 1 guy on the oil platform. The third is hiding. The enemies didn't fire back. They were either too slow or too scared to waste ammo. I didn't give them another second. I performed a jump peek, a DSGenji midair. My aim was slightly off. I missed the head, but I held the trigger. The Luna dropped instantly. Before the others could react, I activated my jetpack. I lunged forward like an arrow released from a bow, vanishing from their line of sight before they could even register I had entered the room. Everything I did was fluid, a seamless flow of movement that left my enemies paralyzed. They didn't even have time to pull their triggers. To them, I must have looked like a ghost. I leaped out, dropped their Luna, and before they could even process the death notification, I had already jetted away. My livestream chat was losing its mind. The screen was a blur of 666 comments, the Chinese internet way of calling someone a goat. They were stunned. It was pure style, but the fight wasn't over yet. I sprinted straight for the second floor. I deployed a Mantis drone to watch my back and successfully seized the high ground at the top of the stairs. At that point, the game was essentially over. From up here, the enemies below had nowhere to hide. One of them, playing a character we call Old Black, got desperate and triggered his ultimate. He sent out a concussion drone, but it was useless against the high ground. I didn't panic. With 1 precise shot, I picked his drone out of the air. Below me, behind the cabinets, I heard the frantic beep-beep-beep of someone trying to revive their teammate. A smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth. I had found the last man. Everyone, start recording, I muttered to the stream. This next part is going to be beautiful. I timed it perfectly. I tossed 2 magnetic grenades behind the cabinets. Without missing a beat, I hit X to switch to my Tiger Shield and bounced it off the wall. It ricocheted perfectly, landing right at the feet of the guy trying to revive. Then, I stepped onto the railing and took a massive leap. While in midair, I activated my jetpack. Mid-flight, I hit the 3-to-1 keys in a rapid sequence to cancel the animation lag. My muzzle locked onto Old Black on the platform. For shots. He dropped instantly. The sounds of gunfire and C4 explosions roared together in a chaotic symphony. 2 silver kill notifications flashed on the top right of my screen. I had just taken down No Longer Weak and Roadside Wild Dog. I was still in the air. My jetpack fuel had partially reset from the kills. I triggered a second burst, soaring right over the cabinets. From my bird's eye view, I saw the Luna player getting rocked by the C4 again, and a player named Zwoy is struggling to stand up after being staggered by my shield. I could practically see the terror on Zwoy's face. I flicked my aim while still floating and fired 4 more rounds. Zwoy went down. I landed smoothly on the floor. Team wiped. The entire sequence happened in the blink of an eye. A triple kill in 3 seconds. I had double jumped through the air and flown from the second floor railing all the way to the tracks. It was a masterpiece of mechanics. My roommates standing behind me were speechless. Their mouths were hanging open so wide you could have fit an egg in them. Their eyes were full of shock, envy, and pure reverence. They looked at me the way I used to look at legends. A real man should play like this. I kept my voice calm, even though my heart was pounding. So what do we think? Can a cheat engine actually pull that off? The chat exploded. The definition of the dragon is online, someone screamed. He's literally flying. That's the coolest wyvern play I've ever seen. Another viewer joked, compared to him, my wyvern is just a worm. Of course, the haters were still there. Stop hyping him up, one wrote. The enemies were bots. Any top-tier Delta player could do this. I just laughed. If that guy were in their shoes, he wouldn't even have seen my face before dying. I moved so fast their 3 perspectives combined couldn't have caught a clear frame of me. I checked the loot. A bit disappointing, I sighed. If a wyvern kill fully reset the jetpack cooldown instead of just 90%, I could have done a triple jump in the air. That comment set the chat on fire again. Even fans from Nku's stream were jumping over to watch me. Nku, it's not that I'm unfaithful, one viewer posted. It's just that this wyvern is too smooth. I promise I'll come back after this match. Nku herself didn't mind. She was a high-end beauty streamer who played for fun, never begging for gifts or doing cringy battles. She was staring at her screen, replaying my movement in her head. She knew hacks could give you aimbot or wall hacks, but they couldn't give you logic. My strategy was what impressed her most. I knew exactly how to solve the puzzle of the room by taking the high ground. This is 100 times better than those pro carries I've paid for, she whispered, her hands clenched. For a gamer who loved the thrill of a fight, watching this was like drinking an ice-cold tea in the middle of a desert. She looked at her nearly empty in-game bank account and then back at my stream. Her eyes lit up. Maybe this master was the one who could save her bankrupt account. I started looting the 6 crates on the floor. I frowned. Not good enough. It was all Tier 3 and Tier 4 gear with half-modded guns. These players were sweet targets, but they were broke. I had wiped 2 squads and barely got any high-value attachments. The match intensity is too low, I complained. I need to kill my way into the high-pressure zones to find the real loot. The chat mocked me. Is he even speaking human? Too low. Please, go to the high-pressure zones and stop bullying us rats. I noticed a comment about players being friendly and looting together. Yeah, I remember those days, I said wistfully. There was a map called Tide's Prison where everyone would just crouch with their shields and loot in peace. Too bad the developers ruined that. Give us back our shared prison. I started heading toward the second courtyard. Even if the 3rd squad spawned there, I didn't want to get bogged down in the old buildings. The terrain was too messy, and a wyvern player like me could easily get caught by a random landmine. I preferred the core area. As I ran, I answered a question about why I always jump when engaging. Delta is different from other shooters, I explained. There's no accuracy penalty for firing in the air. Jumping makes you faster and gives you vertical movement, making it way harder for the enemy to track you. As for handling a 1 versus many scenario, it's actually simple. Suddenly, my screen flashed blood red. The crack of a sniper rifle echoed in my headset. It was pure instinct. I jetted backward, performed a 3-to-1 weapon swap to cancel the animation, and locked onto the source of the sound near the loading room. Two shadows were crouching by the door, muzzle flashes stroking the dark. I flicked my mouse violently. I spun in midair, scoped in, and locked on. My M7 roared. The system announcements barked out. I had downed, rat who loves hiding, and hurry up, you've been buffed. I jetted back again, sliding behind cover to heal. The whole exchange took less than 2 seconds. The viewers had barely realized I was being ambushed before the enemies were already dead. I sat there for a moment, my own heart racing. That wasn't just skill, it was pure muscle memory. I couldn't have replicated it if I tried. The adrenaline was surging so hard my hand was actually shaking on the mouse. I took a deep breath and looked at the camera. Brothers, if I told you I really wasn't hacking, would you even believe me? The chat was exploding. According to them, my normal operation was impossible. Getting shot from the side, jetting backward, swapping weapons instantly, and landing 2 perfect headshots in under 2 seconds? They weren't buying it. One viewer commented that it took him 3 seconds just to type a sentence, yet I had wiped a squad in half that time. The accusations of hyperparameter aimbots and auto-trigger hacks flooded the screen. Jiang Feng, stop pretending you don't know martial arts, one viewer joked, while others were much more toxic. They called me a script kid and threatened to expose my blatant hacks to the game's security director. To them, the play was too perfect, too robotic. But for me, it was just rhythm. As long as my focus was locked in, my reaction speed allowed for these miracle plays. In my past life, I was a walking highlight reel. Any random clip of my gameplay back then could have been used as hard evidence of cheating by someone who didn't understand the ceiling of human skill. I didn't waste time explaining. I turned my attention back to the game to find the last remaining enemy. The final member of the Red Wolf squad had completely lost his will to fight. He didn't even throw a smoke grenade. I caught him out in the open and took him down with a few clean shots. With the squad wiped, I looked back at the chat and almost laughed. The viewers had started a multiple-choice meme to explain my skill. They listed things like high sensitivity, controller aim assist, 144 Hz monitor, good luck, or I haven't slept in a month. They were giving me every excuse in the book except for actual talent. Then, the mood turned dark. The screen became a wall of insults. People were wishing death on my family, calling me a hacking dog over and over. My roommates started to panic. Chen Yulin jumped up and slammed his hand on the desk, shouting at the screen to defend me. Don't talk trash. Fengzi isn't hacking. We're sitting right here watching him. Zhang Jindong and Chun Dexing joined in, but their desperate pleas were ignored. The internet had already made up its mind. Over in Inku's stream, her viewers were demanding she report me. They told her I wasn't even trying to hide it anymore and that she should use her streamer privileges to get me banned. They threatened to unfollow her if she kept watching a cheater. Inku frowned, her eyes fixed on my gameplay. Even though those headshots looked exactly like a lock-on script, her gut told her otherwise. If you want to unfollow, go ahead, she said firmly. My stream is free to come and go. But this isn't a hack. This is what top-tier play looks like. Let's be rational. High-level players can do this. She was standing up for me, even after I had practically bankrupted her in-game. I felt a strange sense of calm. I had been here before. In my past life, when I was 16, streaming from a cramped, broken room after dropping out of school, the same thing happened. Every time I made a play in PUBG or CS, I was buried under a mountain of hate. Back then, no one believed me. I was cyberbullied across every social media platform. But this time was different. This time, I had proof that no one could dispute. First of all, I said, my voice steady through the mic, I'm not hacking. If you want to claim I am, bring actual evidence. Those plays are within the limits of human reaction. The chat mocked me immediately. Yeah right, go win a CS major then, kid. Why are you a small-time streamer if you're that good? I let out a short, playful laugh. So, you think only pro players are allowed to be this good? Fine. I'll stop hiding it. I'm coming clean. I'm a once-in-a-decade FPS genius. The insults got louder, but I kept going. My self-verification is simple. I'm a freshman at Jiangxi University of Finance and Economics. I'm in room 214 of dorm 39. I'm streaming from my dorm right now, and my 3 roommates are right next to me. I'm going to have my roommate start a live stream on his phone. He'll film my hands, my screen, and my entire setup in real time. The chat scoffed, saying hand cams could be faked. I ignored them and turned to Chen Yulin. Old Chun, can you start a stream on your phone to help me out? Smart move, Fengzi, Chen Yulin shouted. He scrambled for his phone, mentioning he had a dormant account from high school. A few minutes later, he was live, pointing his camera directly at me and my laptop. I gave the chat his ID. Go to Orange Yulin on Douyin if you want to see the truth. Thousands of people flooded his stream, ready to watch a cheater get caught. But when the video loaded, they froze. I wasn't using a high-end desktop with hidden hardware. I was sitting there with a single ROG laptop. Wait, is this guy really playing on a laptop? Someone commented. Others were distracted by my face. Hold on, he's actually really handsome. He doesn't look like a cheater. I stood up and moved aside, telling Chen Yulin to get the camera closer. Look closely, I said. One laptop, mouse, keyboard, Ethernet cable, headset. Nothing else plugged in. I opened the task manager on screen, showing that there were no suspicious background processes running. The toxicity died down instantly. Usually, when streamers verify themselves, they have multiple monitors and a mess of cables where a cheating device could be hidden. But my setup was too clean. There was nowhere to hide a hack. Okay, maybe he really is a genius, one viewer admitted. The chat flipped instantly. I was just joking, bro. Sorry. Hey, can you carry me in the next match? Suddenly, the girls in the chat took over. Forget the laptop, show the streamer's face again. He's so cute. They started telling me to quit gaming and just become a face streamer because my looks were wasted on salty gamers. My follower count began to skyrocket. Gift notifications started flooding the screen, and even Chen Yulin's stream was picking up fans. Amidst the chaos, a massive carnival gift notification lit up my screen. Someone was definitely paying attention now. A viewer named Heartseeker sent a massive gift to Chen Yulin's stream. She told me to buy a webcam immediately, promising to shower me with gifts every day if she could see my face. Even Feng Qingyang sent another carnival, calling me a true genius. I thanked them, feeling the momentum shift. Meanwhile, in Nkuz's stream, the tide had completely turned. Her viewers were apologizing for calling me a cheater, praising her for having the vision to spot a pro. Nkuz didn't close my stream. She just minimized it to the corner of her screen, watching me closely. She sent 3 carnivals herself, a public apology for the toxicity her fans had brought to my chat. I thanked her. The storm had passed, and I had come out of it with a loyal following. Then, a comment caught my eye. Wait, is it just me, or is the streamer's gear weird? I signaled Chen Yulin to move the camera. The chat went silent. On my desk sat a generic, unbranded mouse polished shiny from years of use. Beside it was a classic double swallow membrane keyboard, the kind you'd find in a dusty office. My headphones were cheap, yellowed earbuds that probably cost less than $2. The whole setup was worth maybe $15. The chat exploded. Lubu riding a dog, they yelled. It was a slaughter. Players who spent thousands on wooden keyboards and pro headsets felt their souls leave their bodies. If I could pull off these moves with trash, they had no excuses left for their own bad gameplay. I just laughed and told them the gear was actually holding me back. I promised to buy a real setup with the money I was making today. I turned my attention back to the game. I finished looting the guys who tried to ambush me, but they were broke. Their AKs were barely modified. My 45-slot backpack was still mostly empty. I needed the real loot. I headed toward the bridge where I'd wiped Nkuz's squad. The chat started roasting her, calling her my personal delivery service. She had brought 4 million coins worth of gear into the match just to die without firing a single shot. In her own stream, she was turning red, babbling about spawn points and information gaps to defend her pride. Everyone was laughing. She looked like she wanted to crawl into a hole, but she didn't stop watching. She was broken game now, but she had a superpower, her credit card. She was already topping up her balance, clearly planning to buy her way back into a match with me. I reached the bridge and looked up. 3 players were already there, hovering over the boxes I'd left behind. The most hilarious part? All 3 of them were trying to carry the loot boxes away at the same time. I felt a surge of possessiveness. Those were my boxes. Nkuz's high-tier ammo was in there. I wasn't about to let some scavengers walk away with my prize. The 3 players were being cautious, trying to move the loot to a safer spot before opening it. But that caution was their downfall. Carrying a heavy box in this game kills your movement speed. You become a fixed target. I didn't hesitate. I raised my M7, lined up the 3x scope, and opened fire. The distance was a bit far, and I missed a few shots, but it didn't matter. They couldn't move fast enough to escape. I melted all 3 of them before they could even drop the boxes to fight back. It was a second massacre on the bridge. The chat went wild again, joking that anyone who touched my loot was signing their own death warrant. I walked up to the fresh bodies and checked their gear. Based on their position, they had come from the dorms. They must have heard my earlier fight at the jail and come over to third party. Instead, they just became more delivery men for my challenge. The 3 scavengers on the bridge had been lured in by the unlooted boxes I'd left behind. They walked right into my trap and paid for it with their lives. It looked so easy. In one match, I'd wiped a squad at the start, cleaned up 2 more squads trying to third party, killed a flanker, and finished off these greedy bridge jumpers. No one had even touched the core loot zone yet. The entire map belonged to me. The chat was losing it. One viewer offered me $50 just to let them help me search the core area. Others were joking about Nku's contribution. If her loot boxes hadn't been sitting there as bait, that last squad might have snuck up and ended my run. I opened the boxes from the latest squad, and my eyes lit up. For sets of fully modified Scar H rifles. In the current version of the game, the Scar wasn't the weak weapon it would eventually become. It was the go-to for aggressive squads. A fully modded one cost between 5 and 600,000 coins. I knew the developers would release a premium skin for it next season, only to nerf it into the ground immediately after. I finished looting all 6 boxes. Nku's squad had definitely been the richest. Between their 3 modified M7S and 2 Otis rifles packed with top-tier ammo, my total haul value climbed to 5.7 million coins. The beautiful Miss Nku has transformed into warm havoc coins to keep me company, I said to the stream. Nku, who was watching from her own setup, felt a tiny spark of joy. Her coins were gone, but I was finally acknowledging her. She immediately sent another virtual carnival gift. But my next sentence made her smile freeze. To show my gratitude for her contribution, I continued. I've decided to extract with her dog tag. I'll carry it as a badge of honor to prove I support her and that she definitely wasn't cheating. The chat exploded. Taking a dog tag meant taking up a valuable loot slot just to carry a trophy of someone you killed. In the world of Delta Force, that wasn't an honor. It was the ultimate disrespect. You dog of a man. Nku shouted at her screen. She regretted sending that last gift instantly. The comments were relentless. He killed her in the game, and now he's hunting her soul outside of it, one user wrote. We players have our priorities. Money first, women second. Even a beauty like Nku can't shake our loyalty to the grind. Nku tried to maintain her ladylike composure, but seeing the chat mock her made her snap. Her eyes welled up. She'd sent gift after gift, and instead of an invite to play, she got roasted. Zhang Feng, you jerk, she sobbed quietly. I even sent you a carnival. Word traveled fast. The chat started spamming that I'd made the most popular girl on the platform cry twice in one day. Some even threatened to find me at my university. I'm a total steel straight man when it comes to girls. My past girlfriends were all gamers. If they got mad, we just played a few rounds and everything was fine. I figured Nku would be the same. I typed a message in the chat. Secret aerospace map. Want to play a few rounds? Nku's mood flipped instantly. A small smile tugged at her lips, though she tried to sound annoyed. Fine, since you're inviting me. She was secretly relieved. Her in-game bank account was empty, and I was her ticket back to riches. I teased her that if she didn't want to come, I'd just go solo, which sent her scrambling to send a friend request. I'll finish this round first, I told the viewers. I'm going to clear the core zone and then extract. What followed was a masterclass in movement. I moved through the aerospace base like it was my own backyard, using advanced parkour tricks to bypass stairs and drop floors without taking fall damage. When I reached the edge of the welfare pit, a massive drop in the center of the map, I told the chat I was going to jump it. Everyone panicked. I was carrying over 10 million coins worth of gear. One mistake meant losing everything. Don't jump. I'm scared for you, one viewer commented. I ignored them. I lined up my sprint, leaped, and timed a mid-air mantle onto a crate perfectly. I landed without a scratch. The chat went wild with 666 spam. They couldn't believe I'd risk a 10 million coin haul for a stunt. And Ku was staring at the screen, her heart racing, muttering about how insane I was while her hand reflexively sent another gift. "That's nothing," I said. "Watch this." I went back up and did it again, this time using a tactical gadget to reset my falling momentum midair. When my character stood up at the bottom of the pit, the viewers were officially floored. Most players would be shaking too hard to walk with that much loot, but I was treating the map like a playground. If you treat coins like real money, you'll always be too scared to make the big plays, I mused. You have to see them as just numbers. I cleared the entire core zone, but luck wasn't on my side. No legendary red items dropped, just a few gold ones. "Aerospace is trash today," I complained. The chat laughed at me. "That's Delta Force for you. Play like a god, get trash loot. Play like a noob, get the jackpot." The chat was buzzing. Some old viewers were busy explaining my previous run to the newcomers. I had just extracted with 47.5 million coins in a normal tier match. It was unheard of. The new viewers were stunned, demanding I post the replay immediately. They wanted to see the proof. If I were a bigger streamer with a dedicated editor, these clips would have already gone viral across every platform. I didn't waste time. I hit the extraction trigger, pulled out of the zone, and immediately checked my notifications. Nku's friend request was waiting. I accepted it and sent her an invite. A second later, her soft, hesitant voice came through my headset. "Hello? Can you hear me?" she asked. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Loud and clear. "Next map, we're clearing the whole thing. First, I need to apologize to you." "Seriously," Nku said. Her tone was heavy, almost solemn. I glanced at her stream on my second monitor. She had stood up from her chair and adjusted her camera so she was fully in frame. Her eyes were still red from crying earlier, and her beautiful face showed clear traces of tears. She was wearing loose white pajamas, but they couldn't hide her perfect figure. "Even though I didn't mean for it to happen, the comments calling you a cheater affected you," she said, looking straight into the lens. "My viewers were insulting you, and for that, I'm truly sorry." She took a deep breath and gave a formal bow. I straightened my back instinctively. When someone gives you that much respect, you give it back. "It was my mistake," she continued. "If you want, I'll post a formal apology video tomorrow and pin it to the top of my profile." I tried to keep my voice light to ease her tension. "Hey, no need for an apology video. It's only human. If I got killed by a level 30 account in such a weird way, I'd think they were hacking too. Besides, you stood up for me during that last play. You brought a ton of traffic to my stream. If anything, I should be thanking you." Nku's face turned slightly red. She didn't expect me to have heard her defending me. I could feel her sincerity. For a top-tier influencer with 18 million followers to swallow her pride and admit a mistake so publicly took real courage. Most streamers would rather argue until they're blue in the face than admit they were wrong. The chat started moving fast. Some people were joking about how this was a classic enemies to lovers trope. Others were just glad the air was cleared. But the silence in our team lobby was still a bit awkward. My roommate, Chen Yulin, couldn't take it anymore. He leaned over and howled into my mic. "Nku, I'm a huge fan." Chen Yulin was a certified connoisseur of female streamers. He followed over 1,500 people on Douyin, and 95% of them were fitness models or dancers. Nku, who dressed conservatively and never relied on showing skin, was one of the few he actually respected. He had been holding his breath the whole time I was playing, not wanting to distract me, but now he couldn't help himself. I saw the excitement in my buddy's eyes and quietly turned on the speaker so he could hear her response. Nku's mood instantly brightened. This was more like it. She was a top-tier beauty, the kind people called heavenly. Her ego had taken a hit earlier, but a college student fangirling over her was exactly the ego boost she needed. "Thank you for the love," Nku said, her voice turning sweet. She blew a kiss toward her camera. Then, she tried to probe a bit further. "So are all four of you in your dorm fans of mine?" Chen Yulin looked at our other roommates. Zhang Jindong and Chun Dexing both followed her. They weren't diehards, but they definitely counted as fans. Then he looked at me. He knew my taste. I only watched the spicy streamers. If a girl was dressed too conservatively, I'd swipe past her immediately so I wouldn't mess up my algorithm. 3 of us are, Chun Yulin said with the honest, blunt stupidity of a college kid. And Ku paused. Which one isn't? The one playing the game with you, Chun Yulin replied. The silence that followed was deafening. It was so awkward I wanted to crawl into a hole. The chat exploded. They started digging through my liked videos because I had forgotten to set them to private before starting the stream. Look at his likes, someone shouted in the chat. It's all girls in bikinis and yoga pants. Jiang Feng is a man of culture. And Ku, the reason he's not a fan is because you wear too many clothes, another viewer joked. If you wore black stockings, he'd be your #1 supporter. I was mortified. I had accidentally exposed my entire search history to thousands of people. Actually, I'm a silent fan. I lied, trying to save face. I see your videos all the time. I just forgot to hit follow. The chat didn't buy it for a second. It was a terrible spot. In this version of the map, the bridges weren't broken yet, meaning if we tried to cross, we could get sniped from Building 2 or the launch area. Most players who spawn here just hide in a corner for 20 minutes until the heat dies down. But I didn't have time for that. It was bad for the stream's pacing, and I had a challenge to complete. Before we moved, Anka stopped me. She dropped something on the ground. It was 10 more rounds of AWM ammo. She told me she knew I was doing a 0 to 3 billion challenge and noticed I was low on supplies. She wanted me to use hers first. I looked at the chat and realized she had just given me half of her remaining net worth. She was going all in on me. I felt a surge of adrenaline. I told myself right then that I was going to feed her so much loot she wouldn't even be able to walk out of the zone. I decided to have some fun with the roleplay. I put on a serious face and looked at her. I asked Corporal and Ku if she knew what the plan was. She stood tall and played along, reporting that according to my teachings, we should hide for 20 minutes. I laughed and told her she was a genius, then immediately ordered her to follow me into a full-scale assault on Building 2. She looked shocked, accusing me of being a deceptive commander, but she followed anyway. The chat was losing it. I told her to stay put while I went to buy some oranges, a little joke implying I was her father taking care of her. The viewers joked that I was basically calling her too trash to help, but Nku didn't mind. She was enjoying the show. I heard gunfire coming from the black market. A squad was fighting near the launch area. Then, I heard the distinct sound of AI guards firing in the Building 2 print room. I had all the information I needed. It was likely a 3-man squad. I pushed up to the barricades near the crane and set up my scope. I waited for the transition point between the buildings. It didn't take long. Less than a minute later, 3 players sprinted into my crosshairs. They were running across open ground like they didn't have a care in the world. It was target practice. I pulled the trigger. Bang. 1 down. I racked the bolt. Bang. 2 down. 1 more time. Bang. The kill feed lit up with 3 consecutive headshots. Squad wiped. It was clean. It was effortless. I called the corporal over to lick the boots, or rather, the backpacks, of the fallen. And Ku came running over with her massive bag, asking where the bodies were. She was so lost she couldn't even find the crates. The chat teased her, saying her rank was too high and she should be demoted to private. I marked the bodies and went to refill my mags. And Ku's voice turned into a series of excited screams as she opened the crates. She found a fully modded M7 and multiple sets of Tier 6 armor. She couldn't believe I had just deleted a fully geared squad in seconds. She started calling me Big Brother Jiang Feng, completely forgetting her dignity for the sake of the loot. I moved toward the control center. I noticed the main crates hadn't been touched. I started calculating the remaining players. Based on the spawns and the noise, I figured there were only 3 squads left on the entire map. I crossed the central bridge and spotted movement near the president's hallway. A squad was caught in a brutal pincer move. They were being hammered by a rain of tactical items, frag grenades, firebombs, and stun grenades. The hallway was a death trap. I watched as the team disappeared in a cloud of smoke and fire, unable to fire a single shot in return. It was a massacre. The viewers were stunned by the sheer brutality of it. In this map, if you got caught in the wrong spot, no amount of gear could save you. I stared at the screen, my eyes narrowed as I analyzed the chaos. In a situation like this, most players would struggle to survive. I knew that information was the only thing that mattered. If you wanted to improve, you shouldn't just practice your aim. You had to learn how to gather total intel to avoid these death traps entirely. The squad that just got wiped was likely from the Western University team. They had been trading shots with the winners of the Central area for ages, only to have the dormitory squad sneak up and delete them from behind. Now, only 2 squads remained. I wasn't going to waste time. I planned to head to the President's Hall, clear out the survivors, and loot everything before extracting. The chat was losing it. Some said I played like I had cheats, knowing exactly how many teams were left and how each player died. Others realized that while they couldn't copy my mechanics, they desperately needed to learn my game sense. And Ku was still busy looting, so I told her to hurry up and watch how I gathered information. New players were flooding the game during this S2 season, and to them, my perspective felt like a literal god mode. I promised the viewers a tutorial video soon, but I told them the best way to learn was to follow my thought process live. I reminded them I was still a student with classes during the day, so I had to squeeze in time for editing. Looking at the flood of requests, I realized I needed to buy that master editing tool from the system shop as soon as possible. My previous match had been legendary, 12 kills and a 6.5 million coin extraction. However, the system only gave me a 0.8 difficulty multiplier, netting me 148 Overlord points. Most of those came from kills, not loot. The system was clearly rewarding aggression. To me, enemies weren't just walking bags of cash anymore. They were delicious points. I decided to be cautious for once. I chose the black market stairs to enter the President's Hall instead of the more exposed main route. Usually, I'd take a 1 versus 6 fight without blinking, but I had Nku with me. Her family business was on the brink of bankruptcy, and I couldn't just throw away her chance at a big payout. I looked at the 10 rounds of Tier 6 ammo in my rig and suppressed my bloodlust. By the time I reached the hallway, the gunfire from the final 2 squads had stopped. I sighed, feeling a bit disappointed. I was a step too late. They had finished their fight, meaning there were only 3 survivors left for me to hunt. I did a quick shoulder peek. The sound of healing and armor kits clicking filled my headset. I didn't hesitate. I pushed forward with heavy footsteps. The 3 players below the stairs weren't at full health, and they made a fatal mistake. They retreated further down the spiral staircase, giving up the high ground. I almost laughed. Giving up the top of these stairs to a Weilong character was suicide. In my past life, every veteran knew about the tiger crouch trap at this specific spot. If you throw a bouncing drone from the top, the natural instinct is to run down. But the drone is faster. The only way to survive is to charge up toward the attacker, but almost no one has the guts or the reflexes to do it the first time. The 3 players below were disciplined. 2 held the angles while the 3rd prepped a grenade. It was useless. I looked at the camera and spoke calmly to my viewers. I told them these 3 were already dead, and it would happen in 5 seconds. I told everyone to start recording because things were about to get crazy. The chat exploded with doubt. They called me a drunk and a braggart, claiming I couldn't wipe a top-tier squad in 5 seconds without firing a shot. I ignored them and pulled out my tiger crouch drone. I bounced it off the wall with practiced ease and started the countdown. 5. The red warning indicator flashed right in their faces. Panic set in. They stopped prepping their grenades and abandoned their firing positions. They turned and sprinted toward the bottom of the stairs like their boots were on springs. 4. I tucked my gun away and watched them run. I hit the proximity chat key. "You're not good enough," I said. Next, a dull thud echoed as the drone exploded at their feet. The shockwave sent all 3 tumbling to the ground, completely incapacitated. The drone's target imbalance effect was a nightmare for players. I didn't stop. I jumped and tossed 2 C4 charges, sticking them right in the middle of the pile of bodies. 3. The game was over the moment I threw that drone. Now, I was just revealing the ending. They tried to stand up, but the 5-second stun from the drone perfectly matched the C4 timer. They had to watch the red blinking lights, unable to move or fight back. 2. My countdown sounded like a funeral bell. The chat had gone silent as they realized what was happening. 1 drone, 2 C4s, and a full squad wipe without a single bullet fired. It was a level of play they couldn't even imagine. I stood at the top of the stairs, used an emote to give the three desperate souls a standard military salute, and whispered the final number. 1. The C4 detonated in a deafening roar. The kill feed scrolled rapidly, confirming 3 kills with magnetic explosives. The hallway fell silent. The wipe was complete. The mission was complete. 5 seconds was all it took to wipe an entire squad. My drone had delivered the delivery right on time, and the explosion had done the rest. The chat exploded. A sea of dragon emojis flooded the screen, celebrating the absolute dominance I'd just displayed. My roommates were losing it, and I couldn't help but let a massive grin spread across my face. It felt good. In a professional match, you'd never see 3 players clumped together on a staircase like that, but here, it was pure entertainment. I hadn't fired a single bullet from my rifle, yet the lobby was cleared. Commander? Ank's soft, timid voice crackled in my headset. I finished looting the control center. Can I come into the core area now? I rubbed my forehead, laughing under my breath. I just finished a massive firefight over here, and you're still asking for permission to move? The chat lost it again. The messages flew by like machine gun fire. They were teasing her relentlessly, calling for her to be demoted from corporal to a lowly private for being so slow. Commander, look at her, one viewer joked. Is she even a real soldier? I shook my head. Just get over here and start scraping the floor, Ank. The map is clear. Come lick the loot boxes. It's already clear? Wow. Commander, you're incredible. Ank cheered, her character sprinting toward the core area. I looked down at the floor. 9 loot boxes were lined up neatly, 3 full squads wiped out. I hadn't opened a single one yet. Opening boxes was the best part of the game, so I decided to leave that joy for Ank. As I waited, one specific comment in the chat caught my eye. The streamer has the aim and the sense. He's too good to be a small-time looter. It's a waste not to play the Grand Battlefield mode and make a real name for himself. I almost choked. The Grand Battlefield? That was pure chaos. Right now, in Season 2, the Grand Battlefield was the king of the game. It had 70 million daily active players and massive tournaments. The tactical extraction mode I was playing, the looter-shooter mode, was considered the little brother of the game. People thought it was just a side project. I knew better. I knew what was coming in Season 3. In my past life, Season 3 was when the extraction mode truly took off. It was the season where the player base exploded and the entire streaming scene was reshuffled. All the famous streamers who would eventually dominate the charts, Lin Shu, Hao Tian, they all got their start in Season 3. The chat started arguing. The looter-shooter fans were getting defensive. Leave him alone. We finally found a treasure of a new streamer, and you want him to switch modes. Go back to the battlefield. Leave our extraction zone. Streamer, remember this. In the battlefield, you're just another face. If you stay here, you're the god of aggression. Nothing beats the rush of finding a red item in this mode. Battlefield can't compare. I watched them bicker and felt a sense of calm. According to the timeline I remembered, the extraction mode wouldn't just grow. It would triple its player count. Soon, every popular novel and video about this game would be about looting, not the big battles. Switching to the battlefield now would be like joining a losing army on the eve of their surrender. I cleared my throat and addressed the camera. Maybe one day, the roles will be reversed. You'll be the ones telling the battlefield streamers to switch to this mode just to make a living. The chat went silent for a split second before erupting again. The god of aggression spam returned, accompanied by a barrage of gift effects that didn't stop. Wow, 9 boxes. Ank finally arrived. Her eyes practically turned into dollar signs when she saw the pile of unlooted crates. An M7? A Tier 6 armor set? I think I'm going to faint from happiness. Is the boss satisfied? I asked with a chuckle. Yes, so satisfied. Ank was looting so fast her character's head barely moved from the ground. The viewers were watching like it was a mukbang eating show. Everyone suddenly hungry for loot. They started asking how much I charged for a carry session. They wanted to jump in my bag and just watch me clear maps. I'm doing a 30-day, 3 billion coin challenge, I explained to the new viewers. Normally, I play solo. Today is a special case. I ran into Ank twice and practically made her cry, so I figured I owed her a few rounds. Ank suddenly stopped looting. She walked over to me and started dropping her gear on the floor. An M7, a SCAR, an HM700, everything she had found. "Commander, these are for you," she said, her voice soft and careful. "I'll just take whatever you don't want." She paused, then whispered, "Can you take me with you again tomorrow?" The chat went wild. This was the same Ankh who usually played like a maniac, chasing people down with a shotgun. Her tough girl persona had completely crumbled. She was now perfectly content just following me around, doing absolutely nothing but picking up my scraps. I watched the chat explode with simp and gold digger comments directed at Ankh. She looked at the screen and gave the camera a quick, playful glare. She didn't care. To her, being a simp was worth it if she got to ride my coattails and feast on high-tier loot every game. "Tomorrow? I have class tomorrow night," I said. The chat went dead for a second before erupting in laughter. My roommates, Lin Yuan and Xin Wei, were doubling over. A getaway car gift flashed on the screen. The viewers couldn't believe I just shut down a top-tier female streamer to go to class. Ankh looked stunned, her confidence completely shattered by my straight-edge answer. "Wait, you're actually serious?" she asked, sounding hurt. "I thought you were kidding." "I'm a student," I replied simply. "I have a humanitarian duty to pay back your medical expenses for killing you earlier, but I still have to graduate." I told her to finish looting. There was enough here for both of us. My viewers were busy arguing about whether I was the best player in the game yet. Some called me the three-shot legend, comparing me to ancient generals who won wars with 3 arrows. Others said it was too early to tell. I didn't join the debate. In a game like Delta Force, rank matches don't mean much. The real test is the official tournaments, the Peak Series, and the Great Red Cup. That was my true stage. In my past life, a player named Hao Tian became a god at the Red Cup, while another pro, Lin Shu, fell from grace. I knew my aim was still a bit rusty for that level, but I had time. I needed to build my fame to get an invite and sharpen my skills until I was a walking cheat code. As for studying, well, a college student's life is all about balance. Ankh spent 5 minutes licking a single crate clean. I, on the other hand, was a professional. My looting speed was legendary, born from years of fighting over scraps in the trenches of my past life. I knew every trick, including the auto-add shortcut that lets you strip attachments faster than the eye can see. I moved like a whirlwind through the 9 crates. I grabbed 2 revolvers and used them as extra storage slots, stuffing them with 3 lasers, 2 tactical pads, and a resonance grip. "Wait, is that why he brought revolvers?" a viewer commented. "He's using them as attachment holders. The attention to detail is insane," another added. "I can't aim like him, but I can definitely steal this looting trick." Ankh finally finished and checked her total. "Oh my god, 7.2 million coins. This is the best run of my life." "Jiang Feng, how much did you get? I can share if you're low." I glanced at my settlement screen. Not much. Just 7.4 million. Ankh froze. The chat lost its mind. She had started looting first, yet I had walked away with more value while carrying less gear. "I just did some creative accounting," I joked. "I grabbed 3 Tier 6 helmets and 2 Tier 5s while you were staring at the M7. The match timer hit 15 minutes. It was a clean run, no campers, no bridge blockers. I told Ankh to head to the centrifuge to grab the remaining scrap and pull the extraction lever while I hit the black market. I glanced at the clock on my desk. It was past 10 p.m. "All right, guys, listen up," I said to the stream. "My schedule is 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. No stream on Tuesday nights because of class." The complaints flooded in immediately. "Only 4 hours? You're a government employee now. Don't waste your time studying, Jiang Feng. We need you." I felt a mix of pride and a headache. It was great that people wanted to watch me, but being a freshman at a top business university wasn't easy. Between early morning self-study, mandatory lights out, and those damn campus running requirements, my nights were all I had. I wasn't just playing a game. I was building an empire, 1 4-hour shift at a time. Back in my university days, campus running was nothing to me. I could pull off a 10-kilometer night run in 50 minutes without breaking a sweat. But now, as a freshman again, I had to be smart. I couldn't just drop out to stream full-time. I wanted to actually experience college life. I had carefully planned my schedule to hit the golden hours. As long as my content was top tier, the viewers would stay. I started complaining to the chat about how busy I was. I told them I didn't even have time to date. I asked them if they realized how big of a sacrifice that was. Dating? What are you talking about? Ank's voice suddenly spiked an octave. You need to focus. You need to study hard so you don't let your parents down. She sounded so righteous, so I decided to poke back. You're a student too, Ank. Don't tell me you haven't thought about it. I knew from her profile that she was a sophomore at the nearby media university. We were only about a 10-minute drive apart. There was a long silence on the other end. When she finally spoke, her voice was much lower, almost shy. I don't want to date, she mumbled. I let the silence hang for a second, drawing out my words. Well, if you don't wanna. I definitely do. That one sentence felt like a dagger. Ank went completely silent. The chat, however, turned into a war zone. People were debating my dating prospects like it was a professional sport. They said with my looks and my skills in Delta Force, I could change girlfriends as often as I changed my clothes. Some older viewers were reminiscing about their own regrets, telling me to enjoy my youth while I had it. The screen was flooded with girls calling me husband and telling me to check my private messages. It was the ultimate combination: fame, talent, and youth. Life was looking brilliant. But back in the game, the atmosphere had shifted. Ank was acting strange. She stopped her usual constant chatter. Normally, she'd scream with joy over every piece of rare loot, but now she was just silently stuffing items into her bag. I saw her character icon hovering near mine on the map. She was pretending to be busy, but I could tell her mind was a mess. My joke about dating had clearly thrown her off balance. The awkward silence was finally broken by a scream from behind me. Holy crap! Fuel! Shin Dexing shouted. He was leaning over my shoulder, his eyes glued to my monitor. I had just spotted a fuel tank near the crater. In this game, everyone wanted satellite dishes and rocket fuel to upgrade their base, but most people died trying to extract with them. The community had a saying: make millions, spend it all on aerospace, and bring nothing home. Shin Dexing looked at that fuel tank with pure envy. Fengzi, no, brother Feng. Dad, please, take me with you next round. I'll be like Ank. I'll just follow you and eat the leftovers. I won't touch your loot. I just need one tank of fuel. As a hardcore hoarder, he was desperate to max out his warehouse. Before I could even answer, my other two roommates, Chen Yulin and Zhang Jindong, exploded. They didn't want to miss a chance to play with me, especially since Ank was in the squad. It was a chance to meet their idol. They started a bidding war right there in the dorm. I'll buy you breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a week. Yulin yelled. 2 weeks, Jindong countered. Chen Dexing grit his teeth, his eyes locked on the screen. I'll wash your socks for a week. I don't care how bad they smell. I'll scrub them, dry them, and fold them. When he saw the others were about to bid higher, he dropped the ultimate trump card. I'll do all your mandatory campus running for you. I'll stay up late and do the miles myself using the phone hack. The room went silent. You're a beast, Dexing, Jindong cursed, knowing he couldn't beat that. I couldn't stop laughing. I turned to my mic and asked Ank if she minded a third player. She gave a small, quiet hum of approval. The auction is over, I announced. Chen Dexing wins. The rest of you, I'll take you out for fuel tomorrow during the day. I ignored the chat telling me I needed to stream more. I needed a life, too. Ank let out a soft giggle, clearly amused by my roommate's desperation. Chen Dexing was already scrambling to his desk to log in, looking like a man who had just won the lottery. The chat was calling him a legend, while I just shook my head. In this world, a tank of fuel was worth more than a man's dignity. The chat room was buzzing. My viewers were losing their minds over the brotherhood in our dorm. Some were jealous. Others were joking about moving in just to have a roommate as cracked at the game as me. One guy even offered to warm my bed, which immediately triggered a wave of get-out-of-here memes. It was a brief moment of chaos before the tension of the game settled back in. Ank and I split up to hit the extraction switches. We met back at the extraction point, the timer ticking down. I looked at her character and spoke into the mic. Drop your backpack and rig, I said. Let me organize them for you. Ank didn't argue. She dropped everything in a heap on the ground. I opened her inventory and my brow furrowed immediately. She still had basic medkits and surgical packs taking up space. She even had painkillers she didn't need. Worse, she had a half-modded M7 rifle and an AKM with basic green attachments just sitting there, taking up massive slots. From my perspective, a pro from the future, her looting skills were pathetic. She was leaving at least 1,000,000 coins on the table. Weren't professional bodyguards supposed to teach their clients how to loot? She was doing a terrible job of being a boss. How did you even manage to pack a bag this badly? I muttered, my perfectionism getting the better of me. There was a pause. Then, a soft, slightly nasal voice came through my headset. Why are you yelling at me? I froze. I was genuinely confused. I'm not yelling at you. You are, Ank insisted, her voice trailing off with a hint of unexplained grievance, like she'd finally found an excuse to let out some pent-up emotion. Your tone was so heavy just now. You're definitely yelling. I was speechless. I'm a straight-up gamer. I don't know how to navigate the labyrinth of a girl's feelings. I sighed, giving in. Fine. Then I was yelling. I'm sorry. You? Ank stuttered, clearly caught off guard by my blunt apology. The tension in her voice died down instantly. The chat went wild. They were calling me a soft persimmon for folding so fast, laughing at how a god-tier player in-game was such a pushover in real life. They joked that I didn't even know what I was apologizing for, but that was just the straight man's survival guide. If you can't win the argument, just apologize for free. I went back to work on her bag. I crammed in the high-value reds and golds. I packed the expensive loose ammo. I stripped the parts off the half-modded M7 and tossed the trash AKM entirely. I replaced them with the fully modded weapons from my own stash. Finally, I looked at the fuel tank in my bag. I hesitated for a second, then dragged it into her backpack. I could always find more fuel. I wanted her to have a big win. Besides, she was my lucky star. If she hadn't brought her viewers to my stream, I wouldn't be sitting at 2,000 active viewers right now. I told myself I was just paying her back for the help. It was a professional courtesy. I ignored my master points for a moment. To me, the S2 space base map was just an ATM. I could withdraw cash whenever I wanted. It's done. Pick it up, quick, I urged as the timer hit the final seconds. Time to go. The helicopter roared overhead. We vanished from the zone. The settlement screen popped up. Total value extracted, 10,123,421 coins. Ank stared at the number, her eyes glued to the screen. 10 million. She remembered clearly that before I touched her bag, she was only sitting at 7.8 million. I had somehow squeezed an extra 2 million coins into the same space. My earlier complaint, asterisk, how did you pack this badly? Asterisk, echoed in her head. She realized now it wasn't a complaint at all. It was a level of care she hadn't expected. Her heart skipped a beat, and a wave of regret washed over her for snapping at me. She opened her warehouse and saw the rocket fuel glowing red in her bag. It felt like it was mocking her earlier attitude. She knew I had a new account with a small warehouse. In this version of the game, rocket fuel was legendary. My roommate, Chin Dexing, was willing to wash socks for a week just for a chance at that fuel, and I had just given it to her without saying a word. Her chat was screaming for her to apologize to me. They saw the sacrifice I made, giving up my own loot to max out her profit. Ank's face turned bright red, the heat spreading to her neck. She gripped her mouse until her knuckles turned white. She wanted to say thank you. She wanted to apologize, but the words wouldn't come out. Suddenly, she grabbed her phone, opened my stream, and dropped a carnival gift, a massive donation. She told herself it was just a transaction. She was paying for the bodyguard service. That was all. Meanwhile, my system notifications were rolling in. Match intensity, B tier. Resource points, 42. Kill points, 60. Total master points gained, 102. Current total, 571. I grinned. I was only 29 points away from the editing mastery skill book in the system shop. I'd definitely have it before lights out. With these system rewards, the in-game currency didn't even matter that much anymore. You couldn't buy perfect human stats or physical upgrades with game coins, no matter how much you had. As I was planning my next move, the carnival animation lit up my screen. Real money was always better than game money. Thanks for the carnival, Boss Ank. I shouted. The boss is generous. The chat started teasing me immediately, saying I'd finally found a sugar mommy, and that a tank of fuel for a carnival was the best trade in history. I ignored the shipping comments and sent an invite to Chin Dexing. First Striker 214 has joined the lobby, the notification read. But instead of Dexing's voice, I heard Chun Yulin's muffled laughter through the mic. Hey, Fengzi, can you hear me? I turned my head and froze. Chun Yulin was sitting at Chun Dexing's computer, staring at the screen with a look of pure adoration. Meanwhile, Chun Dexing had taken over Yulin's stream. He had the camera zoomed in so close it was practically inside my ear, capturing my side profile in high definition. The female fans in Yulin's stream lost their minds. They didn't care about the gameplay anymore. They just wanted to stare at my face. Comments like, "Mom, I'm in love," and "He's too handsome to be a pro gamer" flooded the chat. "What are you two doing?" I asked, pointing back and forth between them. "I invited Dexing, not you." The chat was dying of laughter. Apparently, they'd made a secret deal. Yulin wanted to play with his goddess, Ankh, and Dexing just wanted to farm views and avoid chores. The trade was simple. Yulin would play on Dexing's account and wash his socks for a week, while Dexing handled the stream. I sighed, shaking my head at these two idiots. "Ankh, do you mind? One of them is obsessed with views, and the other is your biggest fan." Ankh's laughter rang through my headset. "It's fine. The more the merrier." I noticed her looking at Yulin's stream on her phone. Seeing my face on her screen made her blush, and she fanned herself, muttering something about the air conditioning being too hot. "All right, focus," I said, slapping the desk. "Let's move. We need to finish a few rounds before lights out." I swapped my gear to the Wyvern loadout. I grabbed a fully modded M14 and an AWM. Back in this version of the game, the M14 hadn't been nerfed yet. It was a laser beam with terrifying damage. I did something unusual, though. I took off 2 ergonomic grips and added 2 strobe lights instead. In the future, leg shredder builds would use strobes for close quarters dominance, but in the current S2 meta, nobody did this. The strobe effect lasted 2 full seconds back then. It was time to show them how broken it really was. "Ready," Ankh and Yulin shouted in unison. "Let's go," I called out. "Mighty wyverns, move out." "Hungry pigs, reporting," Dexing shouted, holding his phone up like a war correspondent. "Goddess guard, ready," Yulin yelled, desperate to impress Ankh. "Sweetheart team, ready," Ankh whispered softly. Her voice was like candy, making the chat explode with jealousy. We dropped into the launch area. It was a habit now. I instantly switched to my knife, took off my Tier 6 helmet and armor, and sprinted to gain a positional advantage. As I closed my inventory, I saw a Wyvern player sprint past me and toss a C4. "You picked Wyvern just to use C4 for the speed boost." I joked. "Watch me perform," Yulin bragged, puffing out his chest. I chuckled. I knew Yulin's skill level. He was the best of my roommates, sure, but that only meant he was a king among bronze players. Watching me play had given him a false sense of security. He thought the high-tier lobbies looked easy. "I'll take point," Yulin declared. "Foam, you cover me. Let's show them the duo of the century." I didn't argue. If he wanted to be the meat shield, that was fine by me. We weren't in the best spot for the high-tier loot areas like the centrifuge or the black market, so I had to improvise. "Ankh, Yulin, go to the centrifuge," I commanded. I pulled out my AWM and sprinted up the metal stairs to the high platform. From here, I had a perfect line of sight on the west gate. Usually, teams from the launch area don't snipe the west gate because the loot would just go to the dormitory players anyway. But I wasn't here for the coins. I was here for the master points. "He's actually sniping the west gate," the chat buzzed. What a waste of ammo. I ignored them. 3 shadows appeared near the gate, a red wolf, a Mysiawin, and a wyvern. A classic S2 aggressive squad. They were sprinting in the open, heading straight for the card reader. Perfect. I calculated the lead, held my breath, and pulled the trigger. The AWM roared. I knocked down too late for good night. I bolted the rifle and fired again instantly. I knocked down Taste of Sorry. "Wow, 2 down already." Ankh cheered. "Nice shots, Foam," Yulin added, sounding a bit salty. "If you'd told me, we could have wiped them together." I rolled my eyes. At this distance, hitting those shots was half luck and half instinct. The remaining red wolf reacted instantly, popping a smoke grenade to cover his downed teammates. These guys were definitely better than the usual fodder. Their utility usage was on point. I sighed. I really wanted to finish off that red wolf before he could revive them, but the smoke was too thick. The Red Wolf on the other team didn't just hide. He started slide jumping like a maniac, making it impossible to track his head. Even worse, he started blind firing his M14 through my smoke, using his memory of where his teammates fell to finish them off himself. He denied me the kill credits. My chat went wild. Some fans were cheering, but the haters were louder. One shot, one kill? What a joke. You're just wasting ammo. You can't even loot those bodies from all the way up there. You aggressive zone players are all brainless. I didn't let it get to me. The Red Wolf's reactions were top tier, and that smoke save was clutch, but that was the extent of his luck. I glanced toward the dormitory. In this version of the game, the dormitory players hadn't learned to rush the West Gate yet. That meta wouldn't develop until later, after the Red Wolf class got nerfed and the grenade fuse times were adjusted. For now, the distance was too great, and the enemy wasn't giving me another opening. I slung my rifle and headed toward the centrifuge. Old Kai had already opened the bridge. This was going to be a match where every single extract path was contested. I bought my team some time by pinning down the West Gate squad, so the centrifuge should be empty. Ank, be careful in the control room, I warned over the comms. Wait for me, then we'll hit the CEO office. The dormitory or the binary areas are bound to have the high-tier loot. It had only been 3 minutes, but I already had a clear picture of the map. Someone was at the bridge, a squad was at the West Gate, and we held the launch area. This was the beauty of the aerospace base. Information was everything. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream erupted from my headset. It was Chindexing. You idiot. Are you seriously using gold bullets to clear AI? I looked over at Chin Yulin's screen and almost choked on my spit. Yulin was dancing through the centrifuge like a madman, spraying gold-tier ammo at basic Havoc soldiers. Flamethrowers, machine gunners, he didn't care. He was treating them all to the most expensive bullets in the game. The worst part was the shield guards. Instead of aiming for their heads, he just held down the trigger and melted their shields with a full 30-round burst of gold. Chen Dexing's face turned green as he watched his account being treated like a bottomless piggy bank. Yulin ignored him completely, turning to Ank with a smug grin. Kiki, don't worry. Eat up all the loot in the centrifuge. I've cleared every single AI. It's perfectly safe. Ank burst out laughing at his antics. The chat was losing it too. Is this dorm full of comedians? I'm dying. He didn't even hesitate to dump gold into a shield. That's the iron left click technique right there. Wow, I got a pot. Yulin suddenly shouted. Dexing's expression softened slightly. A pot was decent loot. Maybe he could recoup some losses. But then, Yulin did the unthinkable. He tossed the pot onto the floor. Kiki, come quick. This one's for you. Wait, is that okay? Ank asked, giggling. It's fine, Yulin said, waving his hand dismissively. My bro here has plenty of Havoc coins. He's loaded. Be a human being for once. Dexing roared. He shoved his phone into Zhang Jindong's hands and lunged for Yulin's throat, shaking him violently. But then he remembered he was on mic with a girl. He forced a pained smile and wheezed into the headset. Yeah, Kiki, take it. I don't need the coins. I could practically hear his heart shattering through the speakers. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the atmosphere in Chun Shinzai's stream was suffocating. He was playing with the legendary PDD and a top-tier pro they'd hired named Chun Haonan. They were a powerhouse squad, geared to the teeth, and had been on a massive winning streak. They had just arrived at the West Gate, ready to swipe their keycards and start their feast, when my 2 AWM shots shattered their dreams. They had no idea they had just run into me. The silence in their comms was heavy. Chun Haonan, the pro, was lying face down in the dirt, frustrated. Lu, stay behind cover. Don't peek. There's something seriously wrong with the guy in the launch area. Chen Shinzai slammed his desk. This guy is definitely cheating. Sniping us from the launch area at this distance? 2 shots, 2 downs? Are you kidding me? If he's not a hacker, I'll eat my headset. PDD, the only survivor, was shivering behind a trolley. He wasn't just scared of my AWM. He was worried the dormitory players would hear the shots and come to finish them off. My God, this is insane, PDD muttered. He just dropped you guys like it was nothing. And the disrespect. He finished you through my smoke. PDD waited for 30 agonizing seconds, stacked 2 more smoke grenades, and finally managed to drag his teammates' bodies behind a wall to revive them. 22 seconds to revive? This guy is ruthless. He's aiming right for the skull. As the timer ticked down, Chun Shinzai and Chun Haonan watched PDD's perspective with their hearts in their throats. Luckily, the dormitory squad didn't push. Once they were up, PDD growled into the mic. That squad in the launch area is bottom-tier trash. Who plays like that at the start of a match? If I catch them, I'm going to jump kick their heads off. Chun Haonan checked his own AWM, feeling his pride sting. It's just an AWM. I have one too. Let's see how he likes it when we meet in the CEO office. One shot, one kill. What if he really is a hacker? Chun Shinzai whispered. The three of them went silent. PDD tried to be rational. Probably not a hacker. If he was, he would have shot me through the smoke while I was reviving you. He probably just got lucky with 2 miracle shots. PDD wasn't streaming today, but he was a legend in the community, a top-tier influencer with a massive following. His fans were all hanging out in Chun Shinzai's chat, and the messages were flying. The intensity is peaking. Who can survive a lobby like this? Launch area to West Gate, all headshots? That's not human. You guys have won too many games. The game sent a monster to collect the tax. Then, a donation message popped up. Report. I looked up the ID of the guy who shot you. Level 30. His stats are terrifying. I suggest you guys just drop your bags and extract. Save what you can. Really? That bad? PDD asked. He was sitting in what his fans called his black internet cafe, a room filled with high-end PCs. He quickly ordered someone nearby to look up my ID. When the stats popped up, PDD screamed at the screen. Look at this. For 1,750 average extract value, he's been wiping entire lobbies for the last 10 matches. This guy is a freak. So what do we do, Lu? Chun Shinzai asked, sounding nervous. Should we just drop the loot and run? Drop the loot? Drop my ass. PDD barked, his competitive fire ignited. So what if he's a hacker? He's probably just using a light script. I've hunted immortals in PUBG before. I'm going to ruin this guy's day. If I were streaming this, I would be the top talent in the entire Dark Zone. By the time I reached the centrifuge, Lin Yuan and Chan Wei had already finished looting it. The centrifuge was easily the richest core area in the aerospace base. Shin Dexing's excited shouts hadn't stopped for a single second. He found a gold item, then a red one. It was insane. The centrifuge was legendary because it didn't even require keys. The high-tier loot was just sitting there, waiting to be picked up. Chun Dexing was hovering over Chun Yulin like a hawk, watching him loot containers. Chun Yulin looked miserable. He had never seen drop rates this high in the lower-tier matches he usually played. Unfortunately, no fuel spawned in the centrifuge this time, so Chun Yulin was losing interest. Plus, since Chun Dexing was watching him so closely, he couldn't even sneak any loot to his goddess and Ko. When I arrived, Chun Yulin perked up immediately. He rubbed his hands together, ready for action. Let's go, let's go. Centrifuge is cleared. Straight to the CEO's office. The mention of the CEO's office woke Chun Yulin right up. I could practically see the fantasy playing out in his head, and Ku and I would get knocked down by enemies, and he would step up to save the day. He'd trade shots and kill one, use a jetpack to burst down the second, and land a perfect headshot on the third to wipe the squad. Then Ku would tell him how amazing and handsome he was. If I knew what he was thinking, I'd tell him he was dreaming. He thought he could just jetpack and shoot without any tactical play, treating high-level players like mindless bots. I took the lead toward the CEO's office. Without a dedicated scout, I had to use my own body to check corners. I didn't take the second-floor path from the centrifuge to the welfare building. Anyone who's played this map knows that the small door on the second floor is a death trap. There are too many angles to get shot from, and there's zero cover. Taking that route is just suicide. As I reached the first-floor link between welfare and centrifuge, I caught a glimpse of movement. A squad was already moving up the welfare corridor. They probably came from mission control and were heading straight for the CEO's office. Having gathered that intel, I led my 2 teammates forward, quietly tailing them. Just as we entered the long corridor leading to the CEO's area, the sound of intense gunfire and explosions erupted. 2 teams were already fighting it out inside. Before I could even analyze the situation, Chun Yulin couldn't hold back anymore. Go, go, go. 2 teams are fighting. Let's third-party them, he yelled. His character, a Wei Long, dashed forward. He didn't even think. He just hit his jetpack at the corner of the corridor. He was muttering his pro combo under his breath. Jetpack midair, press 3, then 1 to cancel the weapon swap delay. As he landed, he saw an enemy Wei Long standing right at the CEO's door, completely exposed. Chen Yulin's heart raced with joy. He prepared to aim down sights and take the easy kill, but then his screen went weird. Wait, where's my scope? He stammered. He was mashing his mouse buttons, but his character wasn't shooting. Instead, he was just swinging a combat knife in the air. He had messed up the combo. He pressed 3, but he never pressed 1. The enemy Wei Long was stunned for a second, watching this idiot swing a knife at him. Then, he reacted, firing a full burst into Chen Yulin and dropping him instantly. Chen Yulin's face turned bright red. Chen Dexing was turning red too, but out of frustration. What the hell was that? Pull your gun out, you idiot. Zhang Jindong was holding the phone for the stream. He had been so curious about Chen Yulin's pro play that he stopped filming me and focused on him instead. The entire disaster was captured live. The confident jump, the frantic knife swinging, and the pathetic death. Zhang Jindong was speechless. Holy crap, the Black Eagle War God. The viewers in the stream were few, but they immediately acted like war reporters, rushing over to my chat and in Ku's chat to describe the scene. I'm dying. War God jetpacks. War God stands still. War God swings a knife. War God goes to sleep. People were losing it. They compared his big talk before the fight to his dead silence now. Classic, I lagged incoming, one viewer joked. He almost had him. If he just fired one shot, he would have won, believe me. Chen Yulin sat there, looking like a blushing bride, finally squeezing out a single sentence. I just lagged for a second. Forget your face, your character is dead. I snapped, my brow furrowing. We've got company behind us. Fast footsteps were echoing from the welfare spiral staircase. This was bad. We had one team in the CEO's office, one team coming up the stairs behind us, and the team Chen Yulin had alerted in the corridor. We were the meat in a three-way sandwich, pinned right in the middle. The laughter in the chat died instantly. The messages switched to pure panic. GG. Run. They're pinched. Everyone remembered the squad from the last match that got melted by grenades in a similar spot. It's over, one viewer wrote. Why did he jump like that? If he hadn't played like a hero, they could have just rotated out. The chat started blaming Chen Yulin, telling me and Nku to just jump off the balcony and leave him behind. He was in a spot where he couldn't be revived anyway. Chen Yulin's shame finally outweighed his ego. Yuan, you and Nku go, he said quietly. You can't save me here. Don't let me drag you down. Even Chen Dexing stopped caring about his lost gear. We can't fight this. Just retreat. Nku was standing behind me, her eyes fixed on my face through the reflection of the screen. I'll follow your lead, she whispered. Abandon my teammates? I couldn't do it. A famous pro once said, when you have a chance to make a play, you take it. If you pull it off, you're a god. If you lose, you go to the next game. But if you act like a coward once, you might be a coward forever. It was just some virtual currency anyway. In this high-pressure situation, I wasn't nervous. I was actually excited. Forget that. I don't leave teammates behind. And we can win this. I quickly analyzed the information. The team behind us at welfare was likely the squad from the West Gate. The team in the CEO's office was probably the veterans who opened the bridge. And the team Chen Yulin ran into was the one from Mission Control. We couldn't run, and we couldn't just throw smoke to save Chen Yulin. If we smoked him, the Mission Control team wouldn't let us revive. They'd just push through the smoke and trap us in the corridor. But we couldn't retreat into the CEO's office either, or we'd be target practice for 3 different teams' grenades. The only solution was to strike the welfare team first. I had to gamble that the other 2 teams were still watching each other and wouldn't move immediately. I didn't need to win a 1v3 squad fight. I needed to break this down into 3 separate 1v1 squad fights. My hand on the mouse was rock steady. My eyes were sharp. I never feared desperate situations. The more dangerous the gamble, the more it fired me up. This was what I lived for, the high-intensity competition. Nku, you don't have a shield, I commanded. Stay in the corridor. Watch the 2 teams in the CEO direction. If you hear them getting close, Throw your blind grenades and smokes to buy us time. I'm going to go take out the welfare team first. And Ku nodded obediently, her voice soft. Be careful. Go, 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 I thought. The team above me in the welfare corridor was likely the one with the high-level gear. And the ones in the CEO's office were definitely looking for a fight. If we tried to push up now, we'd get sandwiched and shredded. On the welfare spiral staircase, PDD and his two teammates were moving fast. Their eyes were full of a desperate hunger for revenge. They thought I was a cheater. To them, I was just a script kid who needed to be put down, unless I somehow had a God mode hack active. Shinzi was yelling at the top of his lungs as they reached the top of the stairs. They were being incredibly cautious. They let Chun Haonan, who had the best movement control, peek for information. Across the corridor, behind the bulletproof glass, I was waiting. My Wei Long was steady. My AWM was aimed straight at the stairwell. The pressure was suffocating. I see him. Right across from us. Chun Haonan shouted. It's just the one Wei Long, don't trade shots with him. He's a cheater, we can't out-aim him. Don't give him an opening. He peeked out and snapped back instantly, his voice urgent. PDD had a sudden idea. Shinzi, use your ultimate. Spray it down. Let the guys over at the CEO's office know where he is, so they come help us pinch him. Shinzi did as he was told, but the CEO team was busy fighting players from the black market. Frustrated, he threw a flashbang, trying to break my hold on the angle. The second that flash device took flight, I tapped it out of the air with my M14. He threw another. I shot that one down instantly too. Chun Haonan caught the timing. He saw me switch to the M14 to shoot the flash, meaning I didn't have the sniper rifle out. He lunged out, trying to hit a quick scope to end me. But I was one step ahead. I pulled back behind the bulletproof glass before he could even line up the shot. In a flash, Chun Haonan pulled out a tiger shield and tossed it. They finally had a foothold, and they needed that shield to force me off my angle. I'm dropping the shield to push him back. Everyone pushed together. Drive him toward the CEO's office. PDD immediately prepped his hand cannon, ready to push and sink. Red warnings for the shield, and the cannon fire flashed across my screen. I didn't panic. I used my thrusters to boost backward, and while in midair, I threw my own bounce shield. It landed perfectly in the middle of the corridor. If they wanted to rush me, they'd have to run straight into my shield. If they wanted to avoid it, they had to retreat back to the stairs. My tactical awareness was just on another level. Chun Haonan stared at my shield blocking his path and sighed. Brother Liu, we can't push. Smoke it, and let's fall back. They were disciplined. Despite their anger, they retreated to the stairwell. Chun Haonan watched me reposition behind the glass and growled, "We'll all peek at once. No matter how good he is, he can only snap to one of us. Let's see him try to handle 3 lines of fire." I saw them setting up the triple peek and smiled. Did they really think numbers would save them? Had they never heard of the Wei Long jump snap dash? My finger hovered over the keys, my eyes as sharp as a hawk's. The jump snap dash wasn't something everyone could do in this version of the game. Most players either didn't know the trick or were too scared to try it against 3 players at once. It was simple in theory. Jump out of cover, fire in midair, and instantly use the thrusters to dash back behind the wall. In a game like Delta Force, where there's no accuracy penalty for shooting while jumping, it was practically broken. If you mastered it, the enemy wouldn't even have time to react. But as I looked through the glass at the stairwell, I frowned. They were holding tight. 3 players, all aiming at head height, their M7S controlled perfectly. It looked like a raid boss fight, especially Chun Haonan with his AWM. A regular jump peek might not work. A pro could still land a shot. They're smart, I muttered to my stream. They're holding a triple angle, so I can't get a 1v1. If I peek normally, I'm dead to 3 different guns. If they didn't have an AWM, I'd risk the jump dash. But the AWM is the great equalizer. I'm not gambling against a one-shot kill. In this game, the AWM was a cheat code. It ignored armor. If it hit you from the chest up, you were done. The bullets were so expensive they cost over 1.5 coins each on the black market. Later in the game's life, the space station map became an AWM graveyard. Even in Tier 6 gear, if you weren't carrying one, you felt like a second-class citizen. My chat was losing it. 3 players holding with an AWM? Even a god would die there. Don't peek, foam. Do you understand the power of pay-to-win weapons? That's definitely a pro squad setup. They're here for blood. Just leave, man. You said you wouldn't leave anyone behind, but this is suicide. I just let out a small, confident smirk. It didn't matter. I had one more trick. Have you ever heard of the butt peek? For every broken weapon, players eventually find a broken counter. The butt peek, or picky, was exactly what it sounded like. You turn around and wiggle your character's backside out of cover. It sounds ridiculous, but the AWM isn't a one-shot kill if it hits your lower body or limbs. If you peek with your head, you're dead. If you peek with your backside, you just take a hit and laugh while they waste a $2 bullet. At the stairs, PDD and his crew were holding their breath. They saw me move toward the edge of the cover. They were excited. He's tilting. He's going to peek. Come on, baby, show your face. Shin Haonan's crosshair was glued to where my head should be. The next second, he screamed in confusion. What the hell is that? I didn't show my head. Instead, I wiggled my character's rear end out from behind the wall, baiting the shot. Shin Haonan fired on instinct, but he was so confused he missed completely. His mental state shattered instantly. PDD and Shinshinzi were so stunned they forgot to pull their triggers. Before they could recover, I tossed a C4 to boost my speed, jumped out from cover, and snapped my AWM toward them in midair. Bang, one shot. A split second later, I dashed back behind the glass. System, Jiang Feng defeated Unstoppable Leap, Shin Haonan, with AWM. It was a perfect bait and a perfect jump shot. To PDD and the others, it looked like I taunted them with a wiggle, waited for the miss, and then flew out like a ghost to delete their best player before vanishing. They didn't even have time to process it, let alone shoot back. Are you kidding me? PDD slammed his desk. Is he a ghost? What was that? Shinshinzi swallowed hard, his skin crawling. He started to wonder if I really was cheating or if I was just something much, much scarier. Their eyes, once full of rage, were now wide with pure terror. Meanwhile, my stream chat exploded. My mom asked why I'm watching this on my knees. I told her I'm worshipping the god of war. Holy crap, he actually pulled it off. I think I just witnessed a miracle. The stream chat was losing its mind. People were calling me a ghost, a demon, or a god of war. They knew my opponent, Shin Haonan, was a pro-level player, not some random scrub. But seeing him get deleted like that changed everything. The skepticism vanished. No cheat could replicate that kind of movement. It was pure, raw skill. Shin Haonan's mental state was in pieces. He didn't even try to fight back anymore. I decided to end his misery and finished him off, turning his character into a lootable crate. Bro, I'm out. I'm dropping my bag and running. PDD yelled on his own stream. He had seen enough. He turned tail and bolted toward the extraction point like his life depended on it. Shinshinzi didn't say a word. He just followed, leaving his pride behind. Lin, just grab my gun if you can, Shinshinzi muttered to his teammate. They weren't thinking about revenge anymore. When you run into a monster like me, you just accept your fate and move on. Back in my stream, the gifts were raining down. Feng Qingyang dropped 3 virtual carnivals in a row. The flashy animations filled the screen. Inside his high-rise office, Feng Jinxing stared at his monitor. The stress of his corporate day melted away as he watched my gameplay. He had seen thousands of streamers, but never anyone who played like this. He didn't care that I refused to carry viewers for money. He just kept clicking the gift button. If 1 wasn't enough, he'd send 3. If 3 wasn't enough, he'd send 10. He was a man with more real money than in-game currency, and he wanted to show his respect. Thanks for the carnivals, big brother Feng. You're way too generous, I said with a grin. Streaming was almost too easy. To be honest, in my past life, top-tier pros could pull off these moves on a good day. But here in the S2 era, most players couldn't even navigate the maps properly. They were still confusing the blue and black access zones. My mechanics were like fire being introduced to the Stone Age. And Ku was still focused on the loot, oblivious to the high-level psychological warfare I just won. She only cheered when she saw the kill feed. But then, her voice tightened. Jiang Feng, the team from the black access zone is pushing us. The timing was perfect. The squad from the black corridor had been waiting for us to finish our fight with PDD. They wanted to third-party us while we were weak. I heard the footsteps of PDD and his friend fading away. I could have chased them down with my mobility, but I had a bigger problem. Qin Yulin was about to expire. His revival timer was down to 50 seconds. He was holding his breath, terrified of distracting me, but I could tell he was praying for a miracle. I can't kill the ones who ran, but I can definitely kill you, I whispered, my eyes narrowing. I turned to Enku. Enku, go grab the gun from that body and start firing. She caught on instantly. Oh, you want to fake a gunfight to bait them in? Exactly. Make it loud. I tossed a C4 and let it explode to add to the chaos. Enku picked up Chun Haonan's M7 and started spraying into the air. The corridor echoed with the sound of a desperate firefight. It worked. The Black Zone squad couldn't resist. Their heavy footsteps thundered toward us, desperate to get a piece of the loot before it was gone. I smiled. They were so easy to read. Enku, use your ultimate on the corridor, I commanded. She activated her ability, and a swarm of healing drones turned into a cloud of stinging mechanical hornets. I hit them. They're all tagged, she cheered. Now, I triggered my jetpack. I blurred through the air, bursting out of cover like a phantom. I caught the 3 enemies mid-animation while they were trying to swat away the drones. Using a weapon swap trick to cancel my recovery frames, I leveled my M14. I popped a flashbang and held the trigger. The 50-round drum magazine roared. Between the blinding light and the sheer wall of lead, they didn't stand a chance. In less than 3 seconds, the entire squad melted into the floor. They didn't even have time to scream. Qin Yulin was watching my perspective, his heart hammering against his ribs. Yes, that's it. That's exactly how I wanted to play. My keyboard just glitched earlier. The chat was strangely quiet for a moment. Usually, people would be spamming 666, but I had already raised their expectations so high that a triple kill felt normal. Fishing with bait always works, I muttered. Did they really think only one gun was firing? Nice shot, Foam. Save me, Qin Yulin shouted. Only 30 seconds left. Save my dad. Chen Dexing yelled even louder, his voice peaking in my headset. Enku was giggling at the two of them. But the danger wasn't over. The squad from the CEO office was playing it incredibly safe, refusing to show their faces even after I'd wiped 2 other teams. I took a position at the door. Enku, carry Qin Yulin back to safety and start the revive. I'll hold the CEO entrance. Just as the words left my mouth, I froze. The sound of footsteps changed. Wait, something's wrong. Another squad from the Black Zone burst out, spraying bullets toward the smoke where Enku was standing. If the smoke hadn't been thick, she would have been dead instantly. Qin Yulin and Chen Dexing groaned in despair. How many people are in this building? Enku managed to grab Qin Yulin's body and pull him back. I glanced at the timer. It's fine. Go for the revive. It's only 6 more people. I can hold them. The chat exploded. Only 6 people? The confidence on this guy. It's the ultimate rule of this map, one viewer joked. If you can't find anyone, go to the CEO office. If you hear shots, go to the CEO office. If you want to eat, go to the CEO office. Enku felt a wave of relief wash over her. She knelt down to start the revival process. The enemy team heard the sound and panicked. They started spamming grenades and shoulder-fired rockets, trying to force me out of my spot. I timed a C4 toss to break their momentum, then used a backward jetpack burst to land perfectly behind a crate at the corridor exit. I peeked out, my crosshair steady. 2 flashbangs arched toward me. I didn't flinch. I tracked them in the air and shot them both out of the sky before they could blind me. The enemy's frontliners used the distraction to rush the middle zone, locking onto my position. They thought they had me pinned. They were wrong. Wei Long didn't hesitate. He threw a C4 charge right at my feet. It was a fluid, professional move designed to flush me out. Most players would have panicked and retreated straight back to the lobby, but I wasn't most players. I looked at the explosives and realized I couldn't move back. There was no cover behind me. If I retreated, Enku would be exposed, and Qin Yulin would be finished. The footsteps of the duo, Wei Long and Hong Lang, were right on top of me. I had 1 second before they both swung around the corner to finish me off. In that heartbeat, I pulled out my weapon and leaped out. I locked onto Wei Long, the leader of the push. 1 shot. A clean headshot. He dropped instantly. I didn't stop to breathe. I triggered my forward jetpack burst. My character blurred forward like a ghost, slicing through the air and landing directly behind Hong Lang. He tried to spin around, but I was already faster. I canceled my weapon swap animation and raised my M14. I sprayed a burst into his back before he could even process where I had gone. He collapsed next to his teammate. That left only my Xiaowen, who was trailing slightly behind. I had calculated my landing perfectly, putting a massive crate between us. He had no line of sight on me. I already knew exactly where he was standing. I vaulted over the cover and landed 2 precise shots to his head. Squad wiped. The entire engagement took less than 10 seconds. Chen Yuan, who had just been revived, stood there with his mouth hanging open. He finally managed to find his voice. "You're a freak, Jiang Feng. You're a total monster. You didn't even give me a chance to show off." And Ku was clutching her chest, her eyes wide with a mix of lingering fear and pure admiration. The chat was absolutely losing it. My viewers were screaming about the ghost burst I used to get behind Hong Lang. They had never seen movement like that. Even the enemy squad had played it perfectly, but I had simply outplayed them. Chen Yuan started healing up, his confidence returning. "All right, my turn. There's still one squad left inside the CEO office. Jiang Feng, don't you dare touch them. They're mine." He clearly thought the last team was a group of cowards he could easily bully to regain his pride. I raised an eyebrow and gave him a warning. "Go ahead, but remember, you're on your last life." Suddenly, the sound of gunfire erupted from the CEO office. 5 shots. 2 long, 3 short. Chen Yulin's smile froze. The room went silent. "Wait, are they signaling?" Chen Dexing's voice went up an octave. It was a peace signal. We had just slaughtered 3 elite squads in a bloodbath, and the last team was waving a white flag from inside the office. I thought about it for a moment. These guys hadn't peeked once. They hadn't tried to third-party us or even open the door. They were rats, casual players who had likely wandered into a high-level lobby by mistake and were now paralyzed with fear. The chat was divided. Half the viewers wanted me to kick the door down and finish the 4-squad wipe. The other half felt bad for the rats. They remembered their own days of hiding in corners, praying the geared teams wouldn't find them. I looked at Nku. She was biting her lip, clearly feeling sympathetic but waiting for my call. I looked at the door and smiled. "Signal back," I said. "Let the rats live." In my past life, I saw how developers ruin the game by forcing everyone to play like pros. But the rat culture, the casual players just trying to survive, was the soul of the game. It was about the freedom to play however you wanted. I wanted to preserve that feeling. Chen Yuan fired the return signal. A moment later, the heavy office doors creaked open. 3 players wearing basic trench coats stepped out. They didn't have their guns up. Instead, they dropped to the floor and started crawling toward us like little worms. It was the universal sign of submission. They crawled right up to Nku's feet and started throwing items out of their backpacks. A gold cup, a gold vase, a high-tier blueprint. It was a peace offering, a bribe to let them pass. Nku let out a soft giggle. "Oh, they're so cute. Look, they brought us gifts." The tension in the room evaporated instantly. The chat was filled with heart emojis and laughter. This was the side of the game people loved, the unexpected moments of trust between strangers. I leaned into my mic and explained to the viewers that if they ever found themselves in that position, they should drop their vests and backpacks too. If you show a pro squad that killing you offers 0 profit, they might just let you walk away. For today, these 3 rats were safe. I told the viewers the trick. If you drop your rig, your backpack, and your guns, most aggressive squads will just ignore you. There's no profit in killing a naked player. I was teaching the rat survival tips of the future, even though the actual kneel and beg emote hadn't been added to the game yet. The 3 trenchcoat players acted like they heard me. They moved with incredible speed. In seconds, they stripped off their helmets, armor, guns, and bags. They lay there on the cold floor, completely bare, looking like 3 plucked chickens. I blinked, stunned. "Wait, brothers, are you actually watching the stream?" Nku was surprised too. She had dealt with fans in matches before. She leaned toward her mic. "If you're watching the stream, shake your heads left and right." 2 seconds passed. Then, as if they had rehearsed it, all 3 players shook their heads in perfect unison. It was honestly kind of cute. "Wow, they really are fans," I joked. Good thing I accepted the signal. Otherwise, I would have just turned 3 fans into 3 haters. Chen Dexing wasn't sleepy anymore. He jogged over, eager to see what they had. He started rummaging through their discarded bags. Let's see what goodies you've got. He sighed. The bags were full of cheap trash, gray and blue items. These guys were true rats. They had spent the whole match eating dirt, yet they still gave up every single piece of gold they found to us. The chat exploded with laughter. Some felt insulted that I called blue items trash, while others were touched by how honest these fans were. They had literally handed over their entire net worth just to live. I looked at the 3 players cowering on the floor. I felt a sudden urge to mess with them. Okay, let's see whose fans you really are. If you're Nkuz fans, shake your heads left. If you're mine, shake them right. The 3 players froze for a second. Then, without a single moment of hesitation, they all jerked their heads to the left. My face went blank. I slowly raised my M14 and pointed the barrel right at their skulls. Do you guys really not know who's carrying this team? Do you not know who calls the shots here? I'll give you one more chance. Nku covered her mouth, giggling. The 3 trench coats panicked. They started shaking their heads left and right frantically, their survival instinct redlining. Chen Yulin laughed loudly. I get it. You're fans of both of them. That works right. I lowered my gun, my voice softening. Fine. To avoid friendly fire in the future, let's set a secret signal. 6 shots. 1 long, 2 short, then 1 long, 2 short. If you hear that rhythm, it's me. I'll let you pass. The chat teased me, saying I was being too soft on my fans, but I didn't care. I protected my own. Suddenly, a volley of gunshots echoed from the distance. The piece was over. Someone's fighting, I said, my eyes sharpening. Let's move. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, 2 players were having a much worse day. PDD and Chun Shinzai were staring at the extraction point near the testing grounds. The icon was gray. It was closed. They had sprinted all the way from the welfare building, hoping to use the bag drop extraction. But a player in a trench coat had beaten them to it. They had chased him, firing wildly, but the guy had managed to extract right under their noses. Are you even aiming? PDD yelled, slamming his desk. He was too far, Brother Liu. You missed too. Chen Shinzai fired back. They were stuck. The easy exits were gone. Now, if they wanted to leave, they had to go through the space base, the territory of the Great Demon King, who had wiped their squad earlier. The chat was ruthless, calling them cowards and mocking PDD for losing his touch. PDD sighed, his mind racing for a way out. Then, a comment caught Chen Shinzai's eye. Liu, someone says that pro who killed us is a streamer on Dohai. He's playing with Nku. PDD perked up instantly. He was getting older, and his mechanics weren't what they used to be. He believed in social power more than skill these days. If the guy was a streamer, maybe he could recruit him. He pulled up Nku's stream on his phone. There it was. The space base. Nku was crouching in the CEO area, and the teammate ID in the corner read, Jiangfeng. That's him. That's the guy. PDD shouted. He felt a surge of confidence. He wasn't just an ex-pro. He was a top-tier streamer and a guild boss. Surely this Jiangfeng would give him some face. The chat started joking about PDD finding a new bodyguard. They wondered if Jiangfeng would choose Nku's beauty or PDD's money. Little did they know, I wasn't looking for a boss. I was looking for a challenge.